Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Joined a Chaotic Gaming Group? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. The Discord call was already a mess before the server even finished loading. I swear, if I see another Freddy Fazbear doing the floss, I'm uninstalling this game, Wildcat grumbled, rubbing his temples. His mic crackled as his game started up, but his voice still carried the unmistakable exhaustion of someone who'd spent way too much time on weird Gmod servers. That's cap, Delirious snorted, his avatar already materializing in the lobby. You stopped playing Gmod then came back. Can't believe we're still playing Gmod in the Big 25 bro, Wildcat said, crossing his arms. Vanessa's voice cut through the chaos, smooth and full of amusement. You guys ready? I found this map on a Russian forum. No title, no description, just this sketchy file called test_d3adh_final_v4_blood.zip. Sounds like a great life choice, Moo said flatly, already loading in with a suspicious frown. I'm already in, Terrorizer muttered. If my PC catches fire tonight, I'm blaming Evan. The map started loading slowly. The loading screen was just a cracked, glitched-out image that looked like it was flickering between a toddler's scribble and a Lovecraftian nightmare. When the map finally popped, the world was unsettling. An eerie skybox bled red and purple across the horizon, broken buildings floated in midair, and black fog rolled beneath them like a poisonous mist. The textures flickered and warped. Somewhere in the distance, an old man's creepy laughter echoed on a loop. This looks cursed as hell, Panda said, biting his lip with excitement. You would love it, basically replied. You like pain. Oh my god, Forzarosavan muttered. Is that a giant baby head? Yup, Nagla confirmed proudly. That's the first checkpoint. I have so many regrets, Wildcat sighed, adjusting his headset. The death run began. Stage 1, Baby's First Trap. A hallway lined with enormous baby heads floated in the air, each one ticking like a bomb and exploding into angry bees when touched. Delirious, without hesitation, charged in screaming, "Honey for the honey god." Instantly, he was swarmed by buzzing bees and started flailing wildly, his avatar twitching as he spammed. Help me, I'm being killed dash. Terrorizer looked at Delirious as Delirious' Gmod model gets killed by bees. God, that pun was awful. Terrorizer said, Louis nodding in agreement. Better than your gameplay. Delirious fired back mid-buzz. Vanis dodged the exploding baby heads and smiled. We're gonna die a lot tonight, huh? Does anyone know how Evan found this map? Wildcat asked. Vanis shrugged. I didn't find it, it found me. Stage 2, Toaster Hell. They had to jump from flying toaster to flying toaster while a terrifying AI Gordon Ramsay screamed insults at them. You donkey, you burned the potato, the AI roared as Nagla narrowly jumped to safety. I am the potato. Nagla yelled as he missed a jump and plummeted into the void. Louis's voice crackled with laughter. Gordon Ramsay? Seriously? What's next? Exploding waffles. Stage 3, Sewer Slide. The next challenge was a slime-covered tunnel slide that ended in a pile of anime pillows and a crying Squidward plush. Why is there sad music? Moo asked, sliding to a stop. Because you passed the point of no return, 407 said, grimacing. What does that mean? Moo gives a question look. Means I'm not cleaning what's down there, 407 muttered, eyes watering. Stage 4, Saw Elevator. Great, Terrorizer grumbled, arms crossed. Now we're trapped in an elevator straight out of a Saw knockoff. Louis, clutching his invisibility camo device, peered at the control panel. There's only one button. It's labeled in Comic Sans, do not press. Naturally, I want to press it. Comic Sans basically smirked. This map's horrible design choices keep getting worse. Who fonts a death trap in Comic Sans? It's like being mugged by a clown. Terrorizer chuckled. If a clown mugged me, at least it'd be original. But this font? Feels like the Grim Reaper's in turn made it. In Turn of Doom. Louis tapped the button anyway. The elevator lurched, then plummeted 2 stories before screeching to a halt. "Welp," he said, dusting off imaginary dirt. "That was a quick death." "Incredible," Terrorizer deadpanned. "You know, when someone invents an actual death trap elevator, I'm pretty sure they don't get to leave the office alive. But hey, at least we got a free ride." "Yeah, Shakespeare himself couldn't have written this level of tragedy," basically added, voice dripping sarcasm. Act 1. Enter 3 idiots, exit 3 pancake-flatted idiots. As the doors creaked open again, revealing another corridor of spinning buzzsaws, the trio stepped out, unscathed but wincing. "Next time," Terrorizer said, cracking his knuckles, "if I see a do not press button, I'm definitely still pressing it, but I'm also making you 2 press first." "Deal," basically agreed, but only if you agree to be the rental crash test dummy. Louis laughed. "Let's go before the map decides to zip tie us to clown mannequins or something even worse." And with that, they sprinted off into the next nightmare corridor because of course this map still had more chaos in store. Stage 5. Among Us Lava Jump. They had to parkour across lava while a 20-foot-tall Among Us crewmate chased them wielding a frying pan. Wildcat got fed up and kicked the giant imposter in the shin, yelling, "Sus this, be," before he got knocked into the lava. "Okay, this map is F-King chaotic. Why are there so many game references?" Wildcat complained as he punches another small crewmate to the lava. "Don't question it," basically said. "This map is an acid trip." The usual death run chaos went on for hours, screaming, blaming Nagla, crashing, respawning. Finally, they reached the last stretch, a rickety ramp leading to a platform high above the blood-red sky. Just as the crew caught their breath and wiped sweat off their virtual foreheads, the entire map suddenly flickered again. "Whoa, did the gravity just disappear?" 407 asked, floating midair with a confused look. "Yep. I'm doing the moonwalk," Wildcat said, drifting sideways like a confused astronaut. Delirious spun around, waving his arms wildly. "Guys, I can fly. I'm Batman." "Batman? More like Flappy Bird," Panda said as he attempted a slow-motion jump and ended up slowly spinning in place. "Hey, watch it. Gravity might be gone, but my dignity's still here." "Somewhere," basically said, desperately clutching a random barrel to stop himself from floating into the void. Nagla, ever the opportunist, tried to punch the air and yelled, throwing invisible punches at the void. "Take this space." "Nagla, if you hit the void, it's gonna hit back," Mu warned, trying to grab Nagla's floating hand but missing by a mile. "Okay," Vanis laughed. "Everyone, hold something heavy. We can't have Nagla floating away again." Suddenly, the floating objects started colliding and bouncing off each other in zero gravity, turning the whole platform into a chaotic pinball machine. "I just got smacked by a barrel and a rubber chicken at the same time," Wildcat groaned. "Why is there a rubber chicken now?" Panda asked, rubbing his head. Delirious grinned, "Because this map loves chaos. And I love chaos." The skybox flickered strangely, glitching colors that didn't match the game's usual palette. The crew noticed something weird. "Yo, is the sky bugging out?" Wildcat said. "Probably just bad optimization," basically said. "Or your graphics card's dying." "Mine's doing it too," Mu added, staring up. "It's not part of the map." As they floated, a low hum filled their headsets, growing louder. "Hey, anyone else hearing that?" 407 asked. "Sounds like my phone's on vibrate," Panda joked. "No, it's in the game," Vanis said, stopping mid-run. Suddenly, sparks flew out of thin air, blue and crackling with electricity. The sky seemed to tear open, revealing something behind the map, a glimpse of a completely different world with towering buildings, strange uniforms, and a giant golden figure soaring in the distance. "What the hell is that?" Terrorizer whispered. "Is that part of the map?" Wildcat took a cautious look forward. "Don't touch it," basically warned. But Nagla was already floating headfirst into the glowing glitch. "Wadash!" "Nagla, no dash!" Vanis shouted, reaching out. The crew was getting Escorted toward the rift, their models flickering and stretching. Guys. Panda's voice cracked. I think this is bad lag. Nope, Mu said quietly. This is different. The sky glitch expanded rapidly, light pouring out like a black hole. Delirious laughed nervously. I think we're being dragged into the sky's butthole. Will someone please stop in it? Wildcat started, but it was too late. Their computer screen shattered into white and se everyone in. To be continued. A bird chirped. Then another. Then someone screamed. Who the hell is screaming? Wildcat's voice exploded from behind a bush. That's me. Delirious shouted from the top of a nearby tree, flailing wildly. I woke up in a tree. Why am I in a tree? Why are you always the loudest one whenever we end up somewhere weird? Vanis groaned, sitting up and blinking at the too blue sky. Where the hell even are we? Nagla coughed and sat up, squinting into the sunlight. This looks like... But like the anime version. Anime? Louie's voice cracked. Are we in Sword Art Online? I swear to God, if I have to marry a digital waifu again. Again! Forzarosavan raised an eyebrow. Don't ask, Louis replied, rubbing his temples. Basically sat up and looked around. They were in some kind of park, open grass, tall buildings in the distance, weird architecture that definitely wasn't from their hometown. Or country. Or dimension. Okay, roll call, he said. Who's alive and not currently on fire? I'm here, said Wildcat, standing up and slapping dirt off his hoodie. My back hurts like I fell down an entire Gmod map. You did, Vanis muttered. Still alive, Panda said, dragging himself out of a bush. I might be dying, Terrorizer groaned from somewhere nearby. Can someone check if I have bones? Because I don't feel them. Delirious dropped from the tree like a very ungraceful flying squirrel. I think I'm good. Possibly possessed, but good. Louis popped up next to a bush. Okay, serious question. Why does the grass feel so real? Like I can feel blades of grass on my fingers. Gmod grass doesn't do that. That's because this isn't Gmod, 407 muttered, staring at his hand like it had betrayed him. This is something else. Wait, are we inside the game? Does this look like a map to you? Wildcat snapped. This has lighting, weather, smell. And I just heard a bird poop on Delirious. That's too real. Delirious gasped, where? Delirious panicked and frantically tried to find the bird poop on his body. Guys, Vanis said, standing up fully. Look at the buildings. The signs. That's Japanese. How do you know Japanese letters? Basically asks. Evan gives a deadpanned look at Marcel, then Marcel realizes. Oh yeah, you're Asian, but wait, aren't you Chin's dash? Oh my god. Evan, you downloaded a cursed Russian map that somehow SCKD us into anime Japan? Terrorizer interrupts basically. Vanis threw up his hands. I didn't know this would happen. I just thought we'd play some haunted toaster baby map and scream for an hour. Congrats, basically clapped sarcastically. Now we're living in it. Wait, Louis interjected, looking at the group. Do we even know if we're dead? What if this is, like, purgatory? You think purgatory has vending machines? Panda pointed to a nearby street corner with a glowing soda machine. Already drinking a can of Coke. How do you have money on you? For 0s. Anime purgatory might, Mu whispered. I need my phone, Nagla suddenly yelled. I need to grind tonight. You're more concerned about Clash Royale than the fact we got SCKD into a glitched Russian map and woke up in a different world? 40 said nonchalantly. I have trophies to grind. Okay, everybody shut up, Vanis barked. Silence. He pointed at the skyline. We're clearly not in Gmod anymore. We're in a real place. And none of us know how or why. So we're lost, Terrorizer deadpanned. In Japan. With no way out. And no clue how we got here. Oh yeah, Wildcat muttered. Classic Monday. Basically looked around. Anyone else feel? Like my legs are way lighter. Like I could jump hella high. Probably just adrenaline, Mu said. Or maybe we are still in a simulation. We just haven't hit the tutorial yet. Wait, where's Nagla? 407 asked suddenly. They all turned. Nagla was 20 feet away, halfway up a street lamp, dangling from it like a deranged possum. Get down from there! Vanis yelled. I was testing my balance, it's fine. He immediately slipped and fell into a hedge. Delirious cackled. 10-10 dismount. Graceful as ever. Louis sighed. What do we do now? Vanis crossed his arms, scanning the skyline again. We find out where the hell we are, if we're being watched. And maybe, hopefully, not get arrested. Terrorizer snorted. Why would we get arrested? Wildcat pointed at their clothes. We're dressed like a bunch of bootleg GTA characters dropped into Tokyo. We look suspicious as hell. And Delirious is still holding a prop crowbar, Moo added. Delirious looked at it. This is my emotional support crowbar. Well, let's not emotionally support it into someone's face, please, 407 muttered. Vanis took a deep breath. Let's head toward the city. Maybe someone knows what's going on. We play it cool, we don't mention we got SCKE into a computer, and we definitely don't let Nagla talk to strangers. Hey! Let's move. The crew began walking chaotic, confused, but together. The city was too clean. Like, suspiciously clean. Vanis led the group down the sidewalk, eyes darting between glowing signs and futuristic billboards, all in Japanese. Some displayed bright ads with anime mascots holding energy drinks. Others had giant heroic figures posing dramatically above cheesy taglines like, "Support your local pro hero today." Okay, I'm starting to think this is anime, Wildcat muttered, glancing up at a billboard featuring a buff guy with laser eyes. Delirious pointed at another. That guy just flexed and punched a tornado. Moo squinted. Is that a commercial or a warning? Could be both, 407 said. Look at that one, protect your district, register your quirk today. Quirk? What the hell is a quirk? Vanis frowned. Sounds like some RPG stat. Panda tapped the side of his head. Maybe it's like, powers? Like in those superhero MMOs? City of Heroes type stuff? Okay, but when did Tokyo turn into a Marvel crossover event? Basically asked. They kept walking, sticking close to buildings, trying not to look like a bunch of confused tourists who had accidentally glitched through dimensions. Suddenly, someone ran past them literally on fire. But not screaming. Just jogging, completely on fire, headphones in. Everyone stopped and stared. Ugh. Moo pointed. That guy's on fire. And not screaming, Panda added. Wildcat blinked. That's either really cool or really concerning. Then a woman floated by on a pink hoverboard made entirely out of light. She sipped bubble tea and casually waved at a group of teenagers whose arms were made of springs. I think I downloaded the wrong mod pack, Nagla muttered. You think? Terrorizer deadpanned. Another dude passed, holding groceries with his tongue, which stretched out 20 feet like a third arm. Delirious gagged. Okay, I'm uninstalling my eyeballs now. Basically looked around. Is everyone here superhuman? 407 gestured at a pair of kids shooting lasers out of their fingers at a soda can in the alley. We're in the X-Men anime edition. A girl floated overhead with sparkles trailing behind her. Someone nearby teleported across the street in a blink. A man walked past them with literal shark teeth and gills, whistling a cheerful tune. Guys, Vanis said slowly, I don't think this is a cosplay event. Moo pointed at a glowing street sign. UA High School Annual Hero Entrance Exam, city closed between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Louis squinted. UA High School? That sounds familiar. Why does it sound like a knockoff of Hogwarts mixed with boot camp? Wildcat asked. Delirious looked around. Do you guys think we're in the future? Panda shook his head. Nah, future doesn't have this many bubble tea stands. Someone suddenly flew overhead full-on Iron Man style with a mechanical suit emitting a sonic boom. Nagla jumped and screamed, Is that an Iron Man? Not quite, Vanis muttered. Whatever this is, I think this world has people born with powers. Everyone here has something weird going on. You think we'll get powers too? 407 asked. I hope mine's invisibility, Louis said, grinning. So I can slap people and disappear. I want laser eyes, Mu declared. You'd immediately blind yourself, basically said. You know what? Wildcat said. Let's not think about powers. Let's think about how to get home. Delirious spun around. But what if this is home now? Like forever? Everyone stopped walking. Nope, Vanis said quickly. No way. I'm not paying anime rent. That's probably, like, 10,000 yen a week and your soul. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the street as a nearby building flashed with light. A teenage boy flew through the air and landed dramatically on a rooftop. A crowd clapped. A news drone hovered above, broadcasting the man's heroic pose. He just drop-kicked a robber into next Tuesday, Panda said, watching the footage stream live on a screen nearby. Okay, that's kinda cool, Mu admitted. I want to do that, Nagla whispered. Yeah, Vanis said, eyes narrowed. Me too. They stood there, overwhelmed, watching powered people go about their day like it was normal. And somehow, the strangest part wasn't the quirks. It was how ordinary it all felt. Like powers were part of the 9 to 5 grind. Coffee, groceries, spontaneous lightning blasts. Just another Tuesday. Well, basically finally said. I guess the tutorial just ended. Vanis took a deep breath. Let's keep moving. We're gonna figure this out, what this place is, why we're here. And what the hell a quirk really means, Wildcat added. And if I can get one that lets me slap Nagla from across the room, Terrorizer grinned. Hey! Nagla shouted. I better get a cool power or I'm suing Gmod. They kept walking, still confused, still out of place, but slowly realizing. They weren't in any game. This was something real. And the chaos was just getting started. Eventually, the chaos of the city gave way to something quieter. They found themselves in a park, big trees, stone pathways, a koi pond that Delirious tried to dip his whole foot into before Moose stopped him. This feels weirdly peaceful, Vanis said, scanning the area. Too peaceful, Terrorizer muttered. Like the part in a horror game right before things go sideways. There's no one around, 407 noted, peering around the empty benches. Why is it so quiet? Panda sat down on a stone bench and sighed. Maybe people don't hang out at parks in anime land. Wildcat paced a little. Okay, we've seen people fly, burn, stretch, sparkle, phase, and explode soda cans with their fingers. If we're stuck here, there's one obvious question we haven't answered yet. Are we anime? Delirious asked, dead serious. No, Wildcat groaned. Do we have powers too? Oh, the group chorused in unison. Vanis nodded. Honestly, it makes sense. If we got dragged into this world by that weird glitch, maybe it gave us something too. Like a virus, basically said. Or a blessing, Panda countered. Or maybe we're just broken DLC, Louis said. Nagla stretched his arms out dramatically. Okay, I'll go first. If I have powers, I want to use a Pokeball. You're not in Pokemon, Wildcat said. Try something you know, Vanis suggested. Something from a game you've played. Nagla nodded, focused, and suddenly pulled a banana peel out of thin air. Everyone stared. Did you just Mario Kart summon a banana? Mu asked, blinking. Nagla beamed. Yes. He threw it across the grass. It landed with a perfect cartoon slip sound and shimmered for a second before fading. That's cursed, 407 said. My turn. Delirious shouted, clenching his fists. A second later, he popped a prop gun into his hand. From Gmod. It's the gravity gun. He picked up a bench with it, flinging it 20 feet into the air. Dude. Wildcat ducked as the bench crashed behind them. Warn someone next time. Hey, this is real, Vanis said, eyes wide. We actually have game powers? Let me try. Panda focused and suddenly spawned a Minecraft diamond sword. I am unstoppable, he whispered. Not fair, Louis muttered. Let me see if I can get something cool. He clenched his fists and blinked across the park in a quick dash of light. Yo, I just tracer dashed, he shouted from behind a tree. Basically stared at his hands. Come on, give me something crazy. He summoned a red shell and hurled it. It locked onto Moo and zipped across the field, slamming into him and knocking him onto the grass. Oh, come on. Moo shouted. That's cheating. I didn't even aim. Basically laughed. Auto-tracking, baby. Vanis held his breath, focused hard, and a golden deagle from CS/Go appeared in his hand. It shimmered with a nostalgic glow. Okay, yeah, he said, turning it over. This is awesome. Wildcat grinned and cracked his knuckles. You know what time it is. He summoned the Doomslayer shotgun, the sound effects even making Panda flinch. I'm about to rip and tear. Hey, Scotty. Moo asked, brushing off grass. You try anything yet? 407 raised an eyebrow, pointed at the sky, and a Fall Guy-style giant spinning hammer materialized out of nowhere and smacked a tree into splinters. Holy crap, Panda said. We're OP, Delirious whispered. We're gods. Louis teleported again, this time doing a little dab mid-jump. Basically summoned another red shell and aimed at Wildcat just for fun. Nagla was riding around on a summoned warthog jeep from Halo. Okay. Vanis called out, waving. Let's not blow up the park. We still don't know how long this lasts or what the hell this means. They all slowly regrouped, panting, giddy, slightly destructive. So, Terrorizer said, we got game-based powers. And no one else in this world does, Panda added. They have quirks. We've got cheat codes. We could be heroes, 407 started. Or villains, Delirious whispered dramatically. Don't say that out loud, Moo said quickly. Vanis folded his arms. We need to figure out what to do next. If we've got these abilities, we can't go around accidentally nuking trees and summoning Mario Kart death traps. Wildcat shrugged. Why not? Sounds fun. No, basically said, pointing. Because if the government sees us, we're either gonna get arrested or experimented on. Or recruited, Panda said. Or blown up, Moo muttered. They all paused. Then Delirious broke the silence. So who wants to try summoning a tank? And oh, everyone shouted in unison. The crew finally flopped onto a patch of grass in the park, collectively exhausted from their impromptu anime powers stress test. Delirious was still giggling to himself, launching small objects into the pond with the gravity gun. Okay, Vanis said, catching his breath. Let's just chill for a second. No more explosions. Agreed, Moo mumbled, rubbing his shoulder from the red shell ambush. Terrorizer sat silently, his brow furrowed. His arms rested on his knees, but he was staring at his hands hard. You good? Louis asked. Dunno, Terrorizer muttered. I've been feeling off. Like there's a heads-up display in my eyeballs. What? Like you're in Doom VR? Basically asked. No, like Terminator. Terrorizer blinked. Hang on. The moment he said it, his eyes flickered a soft red. Digital symbols scrolled across his vision like he was scanning the world. Oh my God, he whispered. I am the Terminator. Delirious immediately rolled over and screamed, Say, I'll be back. Say it. I'll say it if you shut up for 5 seconds, Terrorizer growled. Vanis leaned in. You're serious? Terrorizer nodded. I don't know how I activated it, but I can scan things. It's like my brain turned into a computer. Everyone stared at him. Do it, Wildcat said. Scan the place. Hack reality. Terrorizer stood up, eyes glowing faintly, and looked toward the sky. Lines of data flashed across his vision: GPS grids, temperature, biometric readings from nearby civilians. Then suddenly, something popped up in big red letters. Location: Mizudafu, Japan. Dimension designation: Universe 392, My Hero Academia. Terrorizer's jaw dropped. Okay, he said slowly, guys. Everyone turned toward him. I know where we are. Vanis raised an eyebrow. Yeah. We're something called My Hero Academia. The entire crew went silent. Then Nagla exploded. What? He shrieked. No way. I knew it. I called it. What do you mean you called it? Wildcat barked. I saw the uniforms. The sky. The buildings. I thought it looked familiar. Nagla was bouncing up and down. This is the anime. You watch anime? Basically blinked. I breathe anime, Nagla said proudly. And My Hero Academia is top tier. Delirious squinted. So what is it? Like Dragon Ball with paperwork? No. Nagla gasped. It's a world where most people have quirks like powers. Heroes and villains fight all the time. There's a school called UA where they train teenage superheroes. Teenagers? Wildcat groaned. Great. We're trapped in TikTok X-Men. Moo facepalmed. This explains the flying guy and the soda can exploder. Terrorizer continued scanning, eyes moving fast. It's real. It's all real. This isn't a game simulation, it's an actual alternate reality. Different rules, different people, different threats. Wait, Panda said, raising a hand. So we're in an anime world, but we didn't get anime powers? No, Vanis said, looking at his deagle. We got game powers. Which makes us? 407 began. Broken? Delirious grinned. Cheat codes in a shonen setting, Nagla said, in absolute awe. We're the glitch in the anime matrix. Wildcat stood up and rubbed his temples. So what now? Do we hide? Join the school? Start our own weird hero group? Do we get matching jackets? Basically asked. I'm not wearing anime drip, Louis grumbled. We have to figure this out fast, Terrorizer said. The longer we stay here, the more likely someone notices we're not from around here. Oh, they'll notice, Moo said, gesturing to Delirious who was still using the gravity gun to make a bench do flips. Vanis folded his arms. Nagla. You know this show. Guide us. Nagla's eyes sparkled. I've been waiting my whole life for this. So, Vanis began, hands on his hips as he stared down the street. We're stuck in an anime world, we've got game powers, and the only person who knows what's going on is a man who thinks One Piece is a cooking show. I do not. Nagla protested. That's food wars. Literally proving his point, basically muttered. They stood awkwardly on a random sidewalk in the middle of a very busy Japanese city. Civilians walked past them, giving subtle glances, probably wondering why a group of 12 foreign guys looked like they just crawled out of a Comic-Con back alley. Okay, Moo said, rubbing his hands. We need a plan. Food first, Panda declared. Chaos is fine, but chaos on an empty stomach? Not happening. I second that, 407 added. We find a cafe, sit down, and figure out our next move. Yeah, Delirious nodded. Preferably a place that doesn't serve bees or anime pillows. I think I saw a coffee sign back that way, Louis said, pointing toward a narrow side street. They all began walking, trying to look casual, which was difficult because Delirious was skipping. Nagla was humming the Attack on Titan theme for some reason. Wildcat had somehow acquired a traffic cone and was now using it as a megaphone. Attention, anime civilians, he yelled. We come in peace and possibly disease. Dude, Vanis groaned. Can you not declare biological warfare in public? Just making friends. Wildcat grinned, voice echoing through the cone. They finally reached a cozy little cafe tucked between two larger buildings. There was a sign above the door with a stylized coffee cup and a bunch of Japanese characters. Vanis looked at it and blinked. What does that say? Probably, we don't serve idiots, basically guessed. They stepped inside, and the immediate smell of coffee and pastries hit them like a warm hug. Okay, Moo said, sighing in relief. This is already better than slime tunnels and crying Squidwards. They approached the counter. A kind-looking waitress in a clean apron greeted them with a smile and a long string of Japanese. Everyone stared at her like deer in headlights. What? 407 whispered. Talking, Panda said slowly. With her mouth. In a language. She's asking if we want to dine in or take out, Terrorizer said. Everyone turned to him. Wait, what? Louis blinked. You can understand her? Vanis asked. Terrorizer reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out what looked like tiny metallic earbuds. Found these in my system menu, he said casually. Auto-translate AirPods. And I've got smart contacts too. They're giving me live subtitles. He handed out a few of the devices. Here, take some. Language barrier solved. Dude, basically said, sticking one in his ear. You're like a walking upgrade menu. I am the upgrade, Brian said with a smug grin. The AirPods clicked into place one by one, and suddenly everyone could understand the cafe staff perfectly. Oh my God, Panda said, eyes wide. She just said they have cheesecake. I can live here, Delirious whispered. They ordered their food with slightly awkward grammar and too much finger-pointing, but with the gadgets translating for them, they managed. Once they were seated in the back corner with their drinks and food, Vanis leaned in. All right, he said. Now that we're not floating in space or being hunted by giant Among Us dudes, let's figure out our next move. Wildcat munched on a pastry. Step 1, don't die. Step 2, blend in, Moo added. Step 3, exploit anime society using gamer powers and become ridiculously overpowered, Nagla grinned. Step 4, stop listening to Nagla, basically said, sipping coffee. Terrorizer pulled up a glowing screen in front of his eyes and began scanning. We need to be careful, he said. This world's tech is more advanced than ours in some ways, but also very different. If we stand out too much, we'll attract attention. Especially since half of us are ticking chaos bombs, 407 said, glancing at Delirious and Nagla. Delirious shrugged, his mouth full of cheesecake. What? I'm innocent. You threw a bench at a dog earlier. It barked first. Vanis leaned back, looking at the window. Outside, a group of kids with obvious quirks walked past. One had fire coming out of his shoes, another had a tail. We're not just in a game anymore, he said. This world has rules. We need to learn them. Fast. Everyone went quiet. Then Panda raised a hand. Can we at least finish our cheesecake first? All right, that was actually the best cheesecake I've ever had, Delirious declared, wiping his mouth with a napkin and patting his stomach. Agreed, Panda said, liking icing off his fingers. 10 out of 10 would get ice-guyed again just for dessert. Vanis stood up and stretched. Let's pay up and bounce. Sun's going down soon, and we still don't know where we're sleeping tonight. They approached the front counter. Terrorizer held up one of his contact menus and blinked a few times. All right, auto-pay system syncing with. Huh, he tilted his head. Apparently, we've got digital wallets in this world. Wait, what? Moo raised an eyebrow. No way, 407 added. We're loaded. Terrorizer nodded slowly. It's tied to our system profiles. Looks like our Gmod avatars got synced with some kind of economy data. Delirious stared at the screen. Dude, I have, like, 50,000 yen. I'm rich. Nagla yelled, throwing invisible money in the air. Don't flex too hard, basically muttered. Knowing our luck, it's monopoly money. They paid for their food surprisingly legit and waved goodbye to the cafe staff. Outside, the sun was dipping below the skyline, painting the city in orange and purple hues. We need to find a place to stay, Vanis said, checking his surroundings. Hotel, apartment, underground gamer lair, whatever we can afford. Bunking with Brian, Louis said. His eyeballs have Google. I'm not a DM in Alexa, all right? Terrorizer snapped, but he smirked anyway. They started walking down the street, their footsteps echoing against the pavement. Just then, screams. Lots of them. Running civilians flooded the intersection ahead, yelling in Japanese. People were bolting down the sidewalks, glancing over their shoulders in terror. Hey, that's unsettling, Wildcat muttered. Should we run too? Moo asked, already taking a step backward. Nope, Vanis said quickly. We are not the main characters. We turn around, find shelter, and pretend we didn't see anything. Agreed, Panda nodded. Not our problem. Definitely not our problem, 407 said. Nagla, meanwhile, squinted into the distance. Wonder what they're running from. Don't, Terrorizer warned. Don't even think about it. Too late. Nagla was already jogging toward the chaos. I just wanna look, he yelled. Vanis groaned. Goddamn it, Nagla. Delirious cackled. Adventure time. And just like that, the group started chasing after him, partially to stop him, partially because, well, curiosity kills gamers too. Why are we always like this? Wildcat shouted. Because we are the problem. Basically called back. They rounded a corner, heading toward the source of the panic, none of them ready for what they'd find next. The crew skidded to a stop just outside a wide street that looked like it had been flipped upside down. Storefront windows were shattered, smoke drifted lazily through the air, and a few hoverbikes lay overturned in the middle of the road. And in the middle of the chaos, a group of masked figures, each wearing ragged outfits that screamed, "We don't do taxes," loomed over a group of frightened bystanders. They moved in sync, dragging bags of cash from a cracked open armored truck while others kept the crowd cornered. "Villains," Vanis whispered. "You think?" Wildcat deadpanned. One of the villains had a body made of molten rock, glowing veins pulsing through his arms as he threatened a trembling store clerk. Another floated slightly off the ground, shadows swirling around her body like smoke, eyes glowing bright pink. The third? A massive dude with wires plugged into his spine and an entire car door for a shoulder pad. These people have quirks, Mu muttered. Like actual superpowers. I guess that confirms it, Terrorizer said under his breath. We're not just in some random anime world. This place is My Hero Academia. You just now realizing that? Nagla whispered. Bro, that dude's literally in the wiki. The crew ducked behind a smoking car for cover. Okay, nobody's dead, Panda said quickly, peeking through a broken windshield. That's lucky. They're just robbing the place, 407 said. No blood, no fireballs to the face yet. So we bail, right? Louis asked. Just sneak off, let the local heroes handle it. Yeah, basically nodded. It's not our business. We're not from here. Speak for yourself, Delirious grinned. I've always wanted to punch a supervillain. No, Vanis said firmly. We don't even know the rules of this world yet. We jump in, we could make it worse. But before they could argue further, a stray blast from the molten villain hit the wall near them, sending a shockwave of heat and debris across the street. Wildcat let out a grunt and stumbled back, holding his shoulder. God, that son of I, he cursed, teeth clenched. Everyone turned to him at once. You okay? Mu asked, rushing to his side. It just grazed me, Wildcat hissed. But it's like lava. Burns like hell. Okay, that's it. Vanis stood up, eyes narrowed. We're in it now. Terrorizer cracked his knuckles. So much for staying low. Guess we're main characters today, Panda muttered. Let's not die, 407 added, pulling up a glowing HUD on his sleeve. Delirious stood, face lit with excitement. All right, boys. Let's wreck 'em. Basically grinned. Time to test those powers. The villains turned as the crew stepped out of cover, one hurt, the rest very angry. And the air, for the first time since they arrived, shifted. The crew spread out, eyeing the villains, sizing them up like confused cats in a room full of laser pointers. Vanis versus Magma Mauler. Vanis squared off against the molten rock villain, whose name was Magma Mauler. His quirk, lava body able to turn his skin into burning magma and shoot fiery punches. Magma Mauler growled, You punks don't belong here. I'll melt you down to slag. Vanis smirked, dodging a fiery punch. Bro, I've survived worse, like your grandma's cooking. Magma swung again, Vanis flipped backward. You're basically a walking bonfire. You talk too much. Magma snapped, launching a lava wave. Vanis rolled through it. Is that the best you got? I've seen scarier things in a horror map. Terrorizer versus Yrwrecker. Terrorizer faced Yrwrecker, a villain with technomancy able to control any electrical device and form weapons from cables. Your circuits will fry. Yrwrecker snarled, wires whipping toward Terrorizer. Terrorizer laughed. Yeah, I'm basically the Terminator. Heard you're my distant cousin. Yrwrecker snarled, You're just a glitch in the system. Terrorizer calmly pulled out a makeshift EMP grenade. Say goodbye to your Wi-Fi, buddy. Basically versus Shadowvex. Basically squared off against Shadowvex, a villain whose quirk Dark Veil allowed her to disappear into shadows and strike unseen. She hissed, "You'll never see me coming." Basically chuckled. Shadowy girl? Please. I've been stealthing better than you since Gmod beta. She vanished in a swirl, basically circled, tossing flashbang grenades. Gotcha, he grinned as she stumbled into the light. Delirious versus Screech. Delirious laughed maniacally, facing Screech, a villain with a sonic quirk that could shatter glass and eardrums. You'll regret this noise. Screech screamed, unleashing a deafening shriek. Delirious covered his ears. Yeah, nice sound effects. I do better scream impressions. He pulled out earplugs from his inventory, slipped them in, and ran circles around Screech. Hey, no fair. Stop spinning. Screech yelled, dizzy and confused. Nagla versus Carcrusher. Nagla faced Carcrusher, the hulking villain with the metal manipulation quirk able to control and morph metal at will. Let's see if you can handle a real beast, Carcrusher growled, lifting a bent car overhead. Nagla grinned. Bro, I bend pixels for fun. Cars? Easy. He dodged the thrown car and sent a barrage of invisible punches. Ghost punches? Carcrusher cried in frustration. Wildcat versus Blaze Siren. Wildcat squared off with Blaze Siren, who could create and control fireballs with her flame whip quirk. You think you can handle the heat? She taunted, cracking a fiery whip. Wildcat smirked. Hot stuff? You've got nothing on me. He pulled out a water balloon, lobbed it at her, then threw a towel soaked in soda. What the? Blaze shouted, sputtering. Moose Knuckle versus Ice Shard. Moo faced Ice Shard, who could freeze anything with a touch. Cold shoulder incoming, Ice Shard grinned. Moo shrugged, pulling out a tiny flamethrower gadget. Time to turn up the heat, he said, firing a burst. Ice Shard hissed, melting a chunk of ice. Cheater. Louis Caliber versus Vortex. Louis faced Vortex, who could create small tornadoes and whirlwinds with his quirk. You're gonna get swept away, Vortex sneered. Louis chuckled, activating his invisibility camo. You can't hit what you can't see, he said, darting around. Vortex spun wildly, yelling, Stop running. I'm gonna get dizzy. Big Jiggly Panda versus Static Shock. Panda faced Static Shock, who could discharge electricity through his fists. Let's see if you can handle my thunder, Static Shock boomed. Panda sighed, pulling out a giant rubber duck from his inventory. Time to quack you up, he joked, swinging the duck like a weapon. Static Shock froze, blinking. What is that? 407 versus Toxic Sludge. 407 faced Toxic Sludge, a villain who could excrete and control corrosive sludge. This fight's gonna get messy, Toxic Sludge sneered. 407 calmly pulled out a hazmat suit from his inventory and donned it instantly. Nice try, slime ball, he said, then shot a jet of compressed air, blasting sludge back. The villains blinked in disbelief, confused by the crew's weird antics and casual jokes while fighting. What kind of freaks are you? Magma Mauler spat, backing up. We're the nightmare you didn't see coming, Vanis smirked. More like a meme convention, Shadowvex scoffed. The fight raged on, chaos mixed with laughter and trash talk filling the air. The fight was winding down, and the crew had more than enough. Vanis pulled out a high-tech gadget from his inventory, a digital net launcher he'd borrowed from one of Brian's experiments. Time to catch these clowns, Vanis said, aiming and firing a glowing net that zapped and wrapped around Magma Mauler and Y-Wrecker. Terrorizer grinned. Bet you didn't expect a bunch of gamers to be packing tech like this. Basically threw a similar device at Shadowvex and Screech, who were struggling to break free. Delirious yanked out a controller-shaped taser, zapping Carcrusher and Blaze Siren until they collapsed, twitching and bound. Nagla, panting, threw a handful of sticky mines, trapping Ice Shard and Vortex in place. Wildcat tossed a makeshift rope, tying Toxic Sludge to a nearby pole as Moose snatched up a metal crate and slammed it shut. Looks like your evil plans just got paused, Wildcat smirked. Pause button? More like game over, Panda added, holding up his trusty rubber duck like a trophy. The villains struggled and cursed, confusion written all over their faces. What the hell was that? Who are you people? Magma Mauler demanded, glaring fiercely. Vanis chuckled. Just your friendly neighborhood chaos crew. You know, the guys who make your day a nightmare. More like video game rejects, Delirious quipped. Whatever you are, don't think this is over, Shadow Vex hissed. Yeah, same villain threats every time, Terrorizer said with a smirk. The crew didn't wait for a response. Alright, let's bounce before the cops or other villains show up, Vanis said, grabbing the group. As they turned to leave, a few nearby civilians peeked out of hiding spots, their phones out, recording the entire fight. Who were those guys? One whispered, eyes wide. Are they heroes? Or something else? Another asked. The crew didn't notice, already sprinting away into the dimming city streets. Man, my heart's pounding. I swear I just fought a villain boss in real life, Nagla said, trying to catch his breath. Yeah, and somehow we're still idiots, basically laughed. Speak for yourself, Wildcat said, rubbing his bruised arm. I'm a tactical genius. Sure, genius, that's why you got smacked first, Terrorizer teased. Hey, at least I didn't almost get caught tying up the slime guy, Wildcat shot back. Alright, save it for later. Let's just find a safe spot and figure out what's next, Vanis said, eyes scanning the shadows. And maybe find some less homicidal side quests, Delirious added with a grin. As they disappeared into the city, the sounds of distant sirens and murmurs of the recording civilians echoed behind them. Absolutely. Here's the updated segment focusing on the aftermath interviews, news coverage, and pro-hero arrivals. The public doesn't know the Vanis crew is from another dimension. They assume the strange abilities are just bizarre and undocumented quirks. /scene. News broadcast, Channel 7 Hero Watch. Anchor, Midori Arai. This just in: a bizarre incident unfolded earlier this evening in a Shinjuku commercial district, where an unnamed villain group was stopped mid-robbery by what witnesses describe as an unofficial hero team. But here's where things get weird. Let's go live to the scene with our reporter, Imiko. /cut to reporter at the scene, with chaos still visible in the background, smoldering street lamps, scorched pavement, and one half-melted vending machine. Reporter, Imiko Tanaka. That's right, Midori. I'm here where the battle took place not more than 30 minutes ago, and witnesses are still trying to make sense of what they saw. According to multiple sources, a group of unidentified individuals, 10 in total, appeared during the villain attack and used what can only be described as unconventional quirks. /cuts to a shaky phone recording from a civilian, showing a blur of Vanis launching a glowing trap net, Delirious swinging a frying pan midair while laughing maniacally, and Wildcat shouting insults while punching a lava-powered villain. Reporter, Imiko. Let's hear from some of the witnesses who caught the event firsthand. Interview 1, civilian woman, mid-30s, holding her phone. Civilian number 1. I don't know what the hell I saw. One of them just pulled a massive duck out of thin air and threw it like a grenade. It exploded into confetti and stunned a villain. That's not a quirk, is it? Never seen that in my life. Interview 2, teenager, recording himself live on Hero Talk. Teenager. Yo, I was just walking past that cafe and boom, dudes were flying. Someone yelled, "I'm Batman," and threw a box of rubber chickens at a lava guy. It was like a video game come to life. I swear one of them turned invisible while blasting dubstep from their chest. What kind of quirk is that? Interview 3, elderly man, slightly bewildered. Old man. One of them walked through a wall and tossed a sticky bomb that turned into a giant net. They had gear, but no visible support items. And the way they fought. It wasn't like heroes. It was chaotic. But they still saved everyone. Somehow. Scene changes, sirens flare in the distance as pro-heroes arrive. Camera zooms in. Lady stomping around the corner, Kamui Woods sliding in with his branches swinging, and edge shot materializing out of thin air moments later. DMN. Looks like we missed the action, Emi Lady said. There's residue from powerful quirks here. But the signatures don't match anything in the database, Kamui Wood said. No confirmation on identities. Whoever they were, they acted with efficiency and chaos. But they disappeared before we could arrive. We'll need to investigate further, Edgeshot said. Back to news reporter. Imiko. As you can see, the Proheroes are on site and trying to make sense of this unusual vigilante appearance. No casualties have been reported, and the villain group has been detained thanks to the strange gadgetry used to trap them. Authorities are baffled. Anchor, Midori. Any indication of who they might be, Imiko? Imiko. No IDs. No hero licenses. Just a ragtag group using bizarre powers and weapons that defy normal quirk logic. The internet's already buzzing. Some are calling them the Digital 10, others the Lag Gang. One forum post claims they're new underground vigilantes. Quick clips from live streams, with usernames and reactions. At Quirkwatch 112, yo. That frying pan guy needs a sidekick ASAP. At Vigilante Feed. Was that dude playing Tetris with lasers? At MHA Conspiracy Club. I think these guys are secret government test subjects. No way those are real quirks. Anchor. Well, the city's left with more questions than answers. One thing's clear, this strange crew just changed the game. Whether they're heroes, vigilantes, or something else entirely. They've made their mark. News theme music fades. The crew ducked into a narrow alleyway, keeping their heads low and voices down, even though subtlety had never exactly been their strong suit. All right, Vanis muttered, glancing around the dim alley. We need somewhere to sleep, preferably with walls. And plumbing. No haunted basements, Wildcat added sharply. I don't care if it's free, if there's creepy wallpaper or a possessed doll, I'm sleeping on the roof. We don't even know if roofs are safe in anime land, Mu said, still adjusting the tiny contact lens translator stuck to his eye. You've seen the buildings. Half of them look like someone punched through the top floor. Delirious peeked out from behind a dumpster, clutching a random plushie he'd grabbed from the villain fight. Guys, I'm just saying, if we're technically superheroes now, can't we just, crash in a hero dorm or something? Yeah, and tell them what exactly? Basically scoffed. Hi, we fell through the sky and beat up 5 villains using stolen Minecraft powers, now please give us bunk beds? Well, when you put it that way, it does sound awesome, Nagla chimed in with a grin. They should be giving us medals. They should be giving you a muzzle, Terrorizer snapped. You almost got us all arrested by waving your Mario fireballs around like a lunatic. Not my fault you stood too close to the Goomba launcher. Nagla shot back. Oh my god, Panda groaned, wiping his face. We're going to get turned into anime prison inmates before we even find a futon. Forzarosavan checked his phone, only to remember for the 20th time that it was now just a fancy paperweight. Does anyone have a plan? A real one that doesn't involve screaming, arson, or Nagla. Hey! Nagla protested. That narrows it down to nothing. We could try squatting somewhere, Louis suggested, eyes scanning the rooftops. I saw a vending machine warehouse a few blocks back. Lots of dark corners, snacks, no rent. Oh cool, Wildcat said sarcastically. We'll just go full raccoon. Maybe we can fight rats for territory. Real hero material. Better than standing here arguing in the middle of an alley, Vanis said. We're probably on 5 different security cams right now. Can we at least find somewhere that doesn't smell like PSS and depression? Mu added, gagging as he kicked a suspicious puddle. Okay, Vanis raised his hands. We go 2 blocks north, stay off the main streets, and check for any sketchy motel, rundown hostel, or abandoned warehouse that isn't already occupied by someone worse than us. And if we run into anyone? Panda asked. We pretend we're cosplayers, 407 said quickly. Delirious can be Batbear. Terrorizer can be Terminator but Irish. Terrorizer sighed. That's just me, you idiot. Louis pointed down the alley. I see a neon sign blinking. Could be a place. You sure it's not a noodle shop? Mu asked. Doesn't matter, Vanis said. We're checking it out. Everyone quiet, calm, and no screaming about power-ups. As they crept toward the blinking sign, Wildcat muttered under his breath, "This is the worst Airbnb experience of my life." As the group slinked through the dim backstreets, trying not to look like they just walked out of an explosion which, technically, they had Terrorizer froze mid-step. "Oh no," he muttered, staring at his wrist console. Vanis looked over. "What now? Don't tell me you just found an anime virus." "Worse." Terrorizer zoomed in on the screen. "We've been filmed. There's like 3 different angles of our fight online already. Twitter, TikTok, some shady forum with neon cat avatars were going viral, lads." Nagla immediately perked up. "Did they get my good side? The side that wasn't on fire?" Delirious leaned in. "Wait, are we trending? What's the hashtag?" Hashtag Mistreamrons. Hashtag who TF was that? Terrorizer deadpanned. "And someone called us the Bargain Bin Avengers." Wildcat groaned. "Oh great. That's it. We're done. Public enemy number 1, and we haven't even figured out how to order food yet." "You're overreacting," 407 said, scrolling through another post. "This one says we looked cool. Kind of. They called you Bearded Iron Man, and said Nagla was probably on bath salts." "Honestly? Not the worst review we've ever gotten," Louis added. "I'm telling you," Terrorizer hissed, "this is exactly how you end up with a bounty on your head. Step 1. Fight a villain. Step 2. Accidentally blow up a street lamp. Step 3. Wanted posters. And then Step 4. Anime prison with really dramatic lighting," Panda said, deadpan. The group paused. A long silence followed. Then Panda's stomach growled loud enough to echo off the walls. Delirious blinked. "Was that a small earthquake, or did you just activate a new power?" "That was me," Panda muttered. "I haven't eaten since we fought those villains." "Same," Moo groaned. "I'd sell my soul for a spicy tuna roll." "We don't even have souls anymore," Wildcat said, dead inside. "We left them in Gmod." Louis clutched his own stomach. "Hey, food first. Then we panic about being anime famous." Vanis nodded. "New plan, find something edible that won't curse us or explode. Preferably not from a trash can," basically added, side-eyeing Delirious. "I wasn't gonna eat from the trash," Delirious said indignantly. "I was gonna investigate the trash." "Your dignity's in there," Wildcat muttered. "I'm gonna throw a vending machine at you." "Guys," 407 sighed, "focus. We'll never find shelter if we pass out from hunger first. Let's follow the smell of food and pray it's not a trap," Terrorizer said. "And if we are being hunted down already, at least I'll die with something in my stomach." "Same," Moo said. "Let's go full anime protagonist, hungry, confused, and somehow in danger." And with a unified grumble of stomachs and sarcasm, the crew shuffled off down the street in search of their next meal. And maybe a break from being low-key criminals in a world they barely understood. Terrorizer's fingers danced across his wrist device, a little holographic map flickering in front of him as they wandered through the evening haze of the city. "Okay, I've scanned the block twice," he muttered. "There's literally only one place open right now that isn't a back alley noodle stand or a vending machine full of mystery meats." "Well, what is it?" Vanis asked, voice hopeful. Terrorizer hesitated. "A Maid cafe." Silence. Dead silence. Wildcat blinked. "You're joking." "I wish I was." "Absolutely not," basically said, turning around. "I would rather eat expired ramen on the sidewalk." "It's that or starve," Terrorizer said, throwing his hands up. "Every other place is closed. This is the only one with lights on and an open sign. I ain't walking into a building full of anime girls calling me master," Wildcat grunted. "I have enough problems." "You already look like a disgraced detective from a Yakuza spin-off," Moo said. "You'll fit right in." "Oh, shut up, discount Digimon," Wildcat snapped back. Delirious grinned, elbowing Panda. "I dunno. You'd look good surrounded by maids." "Do I look like I want to be served pancakes by someone who looks like she just walked out of Sailor Moon?" Panda muttered. "We're grown but men. Some of us are pushing 40, 407 added. And some of us are over it," basically smirked. Hey, I'm youthful and CC, thank you very much, Wildcat said, flipping an imaginary lock of hair. This is a terrible idea, Vanis said, eyeing the building across the street. Pink neon hearts. A tiny bell on the door. A giant sign that read, Nico Heaven, welcome home, Oniine. Nagla stared. What's an uni chain? Aren't you supposed to be the anime guy Nagla? Basically questioned. Don't say that word out loud ever again, Terrorizer said, looking personally offended. Louis groaned. I swear if one of them calls me, Send, I'm leaving through the window. We don't have options. Terrorizer insisted. It's either we eat here or pass out in the street and get caught by some flying hero with tree powers again. Can we focus? Terrorizer snapped. This place has food. Real food. I saw pictures. Omurus. Udon. Cakes shaped like cats. Just walk in. Get fed. Ignore the awkward cosplay. Basically sighed. I'm gonna lose brain cells from this experience, I can feel it already. Panda squinted at the glowing pink signage. If I see anyone I know in there, I'm changing my name. Delirious skipped ahead toward the door. Shotgun not sitting next to the weebiest one. I'm not sitting next to Nagla then, Wildcat said. Hey! Nagla shouted. I'm not the weeb wait. Wait no actually I am. Exactly, Terrorizer said, reaching for the handle. Now shut up and let's go get mortified together. Vanis sighed deeply. We fight crime with video game powers and this is what breaks our spirits. I hope they have fries, Moo mumbled, trudging behind the rest. The bell above the door jingled as 8 grumbling, hungry, and deeply uncomfortable men stepped into a pastel-colored slice of anime hell. And the chorus of high-pitched voices that greeted them with a simultaneous Okarinasai, Gashijin-sama, nearly made them all implode. The second the door jingled shut behind them, it happened. 8 synchronized internal screams of, "Oh hell H." Nobody said it out loud, but every single one of them thought it at the same time with spiritual intensity. Their faces all twisted in various stages of silent horror. Panda froze mid-step. Moo's soul visibly left his body. Wildcat's eyebrows disappeared into his hairline. Delirious let out a soft wheeze. And Vanis? Vanis stared dead ahead, eyes glazed over, like he was mentally bracing for a car crash. A swarm of cheery maids in pastel uniforms immediately approached, waving and bouncing, high-pitched voices slicing through the awkward air like knives dipped in bubblegum. Welcome home, masters. Would you like the Nico special set? We can draw ketchup hearts on your Omurus. Not one of the guys answered. Not a single word. They all stiff-walked like Sims into the farthest booth in the darkest corner of the cafe, not breaking eye contact with anything that wasn't a wall, a floor tile, or their own emotional shame. They slumped into the booth like survivors of a war crime, hands on the table, avoiding eye contact with each other and absolutely not looking at the maids. A beat of silence passed. Then Wildcat leaned in and whispered harshly, I'm going to implode. This is worse than the time we played that cursed baby map, Moo muttered, hunched over. Don't talk about that, Vanis whispered back. I still see the baby heads when I close my eyes. Can we just order and get out before someone livestreams us? 407 hissed. I'm begging. Delirious, normally the loudest, was now the most emotionally damaged. I feel like I've dishonored my ancestors. Terrorizer rubbed his temple, whispering through gritted teeth. This wasn't my idea. Blame Japanese capitalism. They're still hovering, basically murmured. Do they not get the hint? Look at us. Do we look like we want ketchup hearts? Louis didn't even raise his head. I want to get hit by a quirk right now. Preferably something that knocks me unconscious until breakfast. Moo leaned in, suddenly whispering, do you think if we act like NPCs they'll leave us alone? Please stop talking, Wildcat said. You're gonna summon one. They sat in that dark corner booth like a bunch of mobsters hiding out from a hit. No one spoke at first, just exchanging glances like, you better not say it before I do. Then the tension snapped. I swear to God, Terrorizer, Wildcat started, voice low but furious, If I have to eat food handed to me by someone saying, Naya / I'm flipping this table. Oh, shut up, Terrorizer shot back. You all said you were hungry. This is literally the only place open. Yeah, and it's this, 407 said, motioning toward the interior. Pink walls, frilly outfits, fake cat ears. We're not at a diner, we're in a fever dream. Delirious leaned forward, twitching. I didn't survive death traps and baby bee bombs just to die inside a maid cafe. You already look dead, Vanis muttered, lips tight. I just want a DMN burger, Panda grumbled. A burger? No sparkles. No meowing. No glitter ketchup. Just meat and bun. Moo rubbed his eyes. This feels like a setup. Like we're gonna get pranked by a YouTube channel with 2 million subs. Would have preferred a cursed McDonald's over this, basically added. At least Ronald never called me master. Louis groaned. I don't want to be perceived. You never do, Terrorizer snapped. This is normal for you. 407 banged the table lightly. Can we just agree not to look at anything? Stare at the wall. Pretend this is a tax meeting. This isn't funny anymore, Delirious hissed. I swear one of the maids made eye contact and I heard boss music. Okiri. Masters. They all froze like deer caught in the high beams of a shame truck. A perky maid bounced over, voice high and weaponized, smile shining like 1,000 suns. You all look so gloomy. Is something wrong? She asked sweetly, leaning slightly toward the table. 8 pairs of eyes locked forward, wide and emotionless. A long, painful silence. And then, Nagla, completely unfazed, raised a hand. Yeah, can I get the curry with chicken katsu, extra rice? Oh, and melon soda if ye have it. Everyone snapped toward him like he just betrayed the squad. Wildcat growled. What are you doing? What? Nagla blinked. I'm hungry. You're not embarrassed? Moo whispered, stunned. Why would I be? It's just food. The maid beamed at him. One brave master. I'll get that for you right away. She winked, then pranced off, leaving behind a trail of perfume and collective male suffering. The group stared at Nagla in disbelief. You are literally built different, Panda muttered. You're a monster, 407 said. Not all heroes wear capes, Vanis deadpanned. You're eating alone, Terrorizer added. We're not acknowledging you. Fine by me, Nagla said, folding his arms triumphantly. More food for me. Just as the crew started to silently plan how to bolt for the door and accept starvation, it got worse. Much worse. 3 more maids swarmed over like happy sharks, sensing blood in the water. Yeah? You're all so shy, it's adorable. Are you all first-timers? A group of handsome, quiet types? This is so rare. The group collectively recoiled into the booth like vampires avoiding sunlight. Delirious leaned into Vanis. Evan. We gotta leave. I'm not built for this. I'll implode. We can't, Vanis whispered through gritted teeth. They're multiplying. They're like Pokemon. They evolved. One of the maids giggled and knelt beside Louis. You're so red. Don't be shy, master. We don't bite. Louis flinched so hard his soul nearly left his body. Oh my God, 407 mumbled. I want to crawl under the table and vanish from this timeline. Wildcat had his arms crossed and his head tilted back like he was facing a firing squad. I'm gonna be sick. I swear I just saw one wink at me. She called me master. Do I look like I own a fantasy bakery? You look like you need therapy, basically muttered. Terrorizer was already giving in, eyes closed in defeat. We just need to order. Get food. Eat in shame. Never talk about it again. Louis was pale, whispering like he was in a horror movie. Do you think they know we're grown-up men? Almost 40. They think we're awkward college students, Panda hissed. Don't ruin the illusion. We're already dying. Then, like a domino effect, it happened. One by one, they each sighed and pointed at random menu items just to get it over with. Just give me the fried chicken thing. Whatever looks the least pink, Wildcat muttered, not making eye contact with anyone. Pork cutlet rice. Water. No glitter, Vanis added. Ramen. Regular. Nothing sparkly. Please, 407 begged. I'll take the curry too, Delirious grunted. And if you sing to it I'm running out the back. Omuris, Moo mumbled. No hearts drawn on it. Whatever you have that isn't kawaii, Panda said. I don't care if it's just toast. The maids happily scribbled down their orders, sparkling with joy as they praised how cute and polite the boys were being. As they left for the kitchen, the group slumped in their seats, emotionally exhausted. This is the lowest point of my life, Wildcat said blankly. No, Vanis replied, that was the elevator death trap. This is second place. You think they'll sing when they bring our food? 407 asked, dread in his voice. If they do, Terrorizer said darkly, I'm pulling the fire alarm. Nagla, of course, was sitting calmly sipping his melon soda, eyes closed. You guys stress too much. Embrace the cringe. I will embrace the grave first, basically said. Behind the cute pink curtains and pastel-colored door of the kitchen, the maids were bustling around, preparing omuris, curry plates, and awkwardly unsparkly food with their usual cheerful speed. Table 7's weird, one maid whispered as she sprinkled hearts on a bento box. No sparkles, no singing, no ketchup art. Comes to a maid cafe and doesn't want the full treatment, another muttered. They're not rude. Just super embarrassed, said one with a confused tilt of her head. Like, full-on avoiding eye contact like we're ghosts. One of the newer maids leaned in with a low voice, glancing at the order list. I think they're those guys. A silence swept across the small kitchen. Wait, what guys? The chef asked, lowering the pan. You know, those guys. The ones in that video earlier today. The ones who fought that villain gang in public. It's been blowing up online. Someone pulled out their phone, typing fast before holding it up for everyone to crowd around. The screen showed grainy footage from earlier that evening, the now infamous street fight. The chaotic voices, weird powers, Wildcat getting launched into a sign, and the whole squad jumping in like unhinged superheroes. That's totally them, one maid gasped. The guy in the gray hoodie just suplexed a dude through a hot dog stand. The loud guy with the scars? I saw him punch a guy into a trash bin yelling something about a loot box. The maids went pale. No wonder they're acting so weird, one whispered. They're not just college men embarrassed by cute girls. They're mysterious vigilantes. Or cosplayers with superpowers, another added. But why are they so awkward? They're supposed to be tough. They're like shy rogues, one said dreamily. Secretly dangerous. But socially anxious. Another maid giggled. That one with the mask asked for curry like he was negotiating a hostage situation. The head maid clapped her hands, getting everyone's attention. Okay. No weirding them out. No confronting them. Just treat them like normal guests. We don't need exploding tables or teleporting ketchup bottles tonight. They all nodded quickly, still watching the footage play again, this time with slow-mo edits and dramatic music. One maid mumbled under her breath, they better tip well if they're famous now. Their orders arrived: omuris, curry, tonkatsu, and oddly perfect portions of fries with smiling ketchup faces. The plates were decorated with little paper flags and hearts drawn in sauce. Each dish was hand-delivered with a bubbly momo/kyun and a pose. The Vanis crew? Absolutely dying inside. They stared straight ahead like hostages, refusing to make eye contact as the maids tried their best to charm them. One maid playfully tried to boop Moo's nose. He flinched so hard his glasses almost fell off. Another maid tried to heart pose at Terrorizer. He slowly rotated away like he was buffering. Sweet Jesus, Wildcat muttered, spearing his katsu. I feel like I'm being emotionally waterboarded by anime girls. No eye contact, 407 whispered, eyes locked on his curry. If you make eye contact, they start talking again. Panda, mouth full, mumbled, they already did. One called me a chubby-kun. I didn't know whether to feel flattered or insulted. Nagla, meanwhile, was just eating like nothing was weird. He happily dipped a fry into heart-shaped ketchup and gave a thumbs up to the maids. I like it here, he said between bites. Food's good. Vibes great. No one trying to kill me. You're immune to embarrassment, Vanis said, chewing. Nagla nodded proudly. I'm Irish. We're born with no shame. Really, Nagla? Terrorizer said. The pause. Then Evan leaned back and asked, casually, how much do you think they get paid to do all that? That got everyone thinking. Wildcat glanced at the maids, one twirling while holding a tiny flag, another drawing a cat face in ketchup on someone else's plate. Minimum wage. Maybe danger pay, Wildcat said. Nah, Moo said, taking a sip of water. There's no way. You don't heart pose for less than $15 an hour. That depends, 407 added. Do they get bonuses for tolerating men in their 30s clearly trying not to die inside? Do they have awkward customer hazard training? Panda asked. Like a whole workshop on how to charm emotionally constipated gamers? I bet they get XP instead of money, Terrorizer said, stabbing his rice. Congratulations. You've leveled up in emotional fortitude. Evan smirked. Honestly, I'd give them credit just for not throwing us out. I think we radiate anti-cute energy. Speak for yourself, Nagla said, holding up a smiley fry. This little dude gets me. They all stared at him, then burst out laughing, quiet, muffled laughter, trying not to attract attention from the still smiling maids. They probably think we're like a cult, Moo chuckled. What? Sad introverts with gamer trauma? 407 said. They're not wrong, Wildcat muttered, still chewing. Vanis leaned in. Okay, real talk, if someone came up to you in high school and said, one day you'll be in your 30s, sitting in a maid cafe in anime world after fighting supervillains, what would you have said? I would have said, stop talking to me, nerd, Wildcat replied immediately. I would have asked if I at least looked cool, Terrorizer added. I'd have said, what's a maid cafe? Nagla shrugged. You still don't know, Panda said. Nagla blinked. Fair. They kept eating, slowly settling into the weirdness of the situation, trying not to think about the reality that somewhere out there people were definitely watching that fight footage right now. And they were sitting under pink frilly curtains, pretending like none of it existed. Okay, but seriously, Moo muttered, dabbing ketchup off his chin, you think they get tips? Wildcat raised an eyebrow. In Japan? I think tipping's considered rude. Then how the hell do they survive? Panda leaned in. They gotta get something extra for putting up with this. He gestured to their general awkward aura. I bet they get commission, 407 added. If they get the customer to smile or say something cute, they get points. Points? Evan asked. Like a scoreboard in the break room? Exactly. Top maid of the month gets, I dunno, extra rice or something. That's dark, Terrorizer said. That's actually dark. Maybe they have to fight for it, Moo said, eyes widening. Maid Battle Royale. Panda chuckled. Winner gets the best shift. Loser has to serve us again. Wildcat groaned. God, I hope we're not the punishment table. Too late for that, Vanis said. They're already looking at us like a sad zoo exhibit. Meanwhile, in the back room of the cafe, two maids peeked from behind a curtain near the kitchen door, whispering intensely. Did you see how the tall one flinched when I said, Koi, one? I thought he was gonna teleport out of his seat. Right? I was trying to do the bunny ear pose and the guy just stared at the wall like he saw a ghost. They're not normal, another maid said, holding a tray. I swear I saw one of them on the news earlier. From that villain attack. Wait, what? No way. No, I'm serious. I saw it on my friend's TikTok. The dude with the panda hat, he pile-drived a guy into a wall. What kind of quirk is that? No idea. That's what people are trying to figure out. Some folks think they're a new underground hero team or something. They act more like socially inept NPCs. Another maid giggled. They're kinda cute though. Pathetic cute. Maybe they're cursed. Or maybe they're just really shy. In a weird, grown man kind of way. The head maid poked her head in. Girls, stop gossiping and bring them dessert. Smile like your rent depends on it. One maid groaned, picking up the pudding tray. I swear, if the one with the glasses ignores me again, I'm switching tables. Better than getting assigned the loud one, another said. He almost dropped his rice laughing at a ketchup face. They all laughed quietly as they prepped to go back out, totally unaware that the crew was still arguing at the table over Maid economics like it was a UN summit. Back at the table? I'm just saying, Mu argued, if someone makes me food, does a dance, and yells, Momo Kyun in my face, that's, like, premium service. That's a $20 performance. Then you go work here, Wildcat deadpanned. Maybe I will. Mu replied. With a frilly apron and all. You'd break the dress code, Panda said. Dress code can't handle all this. Mu gestured dramatically at himself. Can we not start talking about Mu in a maid outfit? Vanis said. I'm trying to finish my rice without picturing that. Too late, 407 muttered. Burned into my brain. They all groaned. Right then, more maids approached with dessert plates and painfully sweet smiles, forcing everyone to stiffen in synchronized horror. And yet, the argument about salaries? Still not over. The maids placed the desserts on the table with big smiles. Wait, are these free? Panda blinked, eyeing the parfait suspiciously. One maid giggled softly, twirling a lock of hair. Yes, this is a special treat for our master's hard work today. Master's hard work? Evan echoed, raising an eyebrow. We didn't exactly work for anything. Just, being here counts. Another maid chirped, eyes sparkling. The crew exchanged looks. You mean, this is just the usual free dessert you give to everyone who orders? Wildcat asked skeptically. The maid nodded, still smiling like she was sharing the deepest secret in the universe. It's tradition. Every order gets a sweet reward. The entire table collectively stiffened. Why did you have to say it like that? Mu groaned, burying his face in his hands. Master this, master that. I want to die right here, Vanis muttered under his breath. Nagla shrugged and began eating his pudding, unfazed by the awkwardness. I'm just here for the food, he said plainly. Can we please stop pretending this isn't the cringiest thing we've ever done? Panda pleaded, glaring around. They all nodded silently, their faces perfectly blank as the maids continued to beam at them, unaware of the internal second-hand embarrassment the crew was drowning in. After they finished their desserts, the crew sat in heavy silence, each trying to ignore the lingering awkwardness like it was a bad smell in the air. The maids fluttered around, their smiles still bright and hopeful, while the guys just stared blankly at their half-empty plates. Finally, Vanis cleared his throat. All right, I think we've overstayed our welcome in the land of kawaii cringe. Yeah, Wildcat muttered, pushing his parfait away. If I get one more master or senpai from a maid, I might actually scream. Mu nodded vigorously. Or fake a faint. That'd be less painful. Nagla, still liking the last of his pudding with casual ease, looked up and asked, So, where exactly are we staying tonight? The question hit like a splash of cold water. Everyone snapped back to reality. What? Panda blinked, sitting up straighter. We didn't even think that far ahead. No joke, Delirious added. I was too busy trying to pretend this wasn't happening. Terrorizer gave a heavy sigh. We need a plan. And a roof. Before it gets dark. Yeah, and preferably somewhere without maids, Vanis said quickly, shooting a pointed look at the group. Not that I have anything against maids, Mu said carefully, but maybe not the maid cafe. Agreed, Wildcat said, standing up and stretching. We should find a place to crash. Somewhere normal. Normalish. Nagla shrugged again, completely unfazed. I say we just find an abandoned building and set up camp. Less weird than this place. Abandoned buildings? Really? Panda groaned. You want us to become ghosts now? Better than becoming meme material on some creepy maid cafe livestream, Vanis pointed out. Wait, Delirious said, grinning mischievously, did you guys see the way those maids kept looking at us? They totally think we're some kind of cute lost puppies. Yeah, Terrorizer deadpanned, lost puppies with crippling social anxiety and zero game knowledge about Japan. Maybe next time, Just don't bring up pudding, Nagla said with a smirk. They all laughed a little too loudly, breaking the tension. Vanis glanced outside the window. All right, let's get moving before the night really falls. And before I have nightmares about frilly aprons. Everyone agreed, gathering their things with a little more pep now that the awkward dessert episode was behind them. As they stepped out into the fading daylight, the reality of their situations sunk in again. So, abandoned building or nice hotel? Panda asked. Does a nice hotel even exist for us right now? Wildcat replied, already scanning the streets warily. No idea, Vanis said. But we gotta figure it out fast. Basically grinned. Well, wherever we end up, at least it won't have maids. That's one promise. The group shared a tired but genuine laugh as they walked off into the early evening, already arguing about the best strategy for their next move. The mood turned grim fast when Terrorizer pulled up his map and squinted at the screen. So yeah, bad news, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Vanis groaned. Don't tell me. The nearest hotel's like 5 districts away. On foot, that's like a 5-hour walk minimum. Wildcat looked up at the darkening sky. Great. So we either walk for hours in the dark like hobos or, Moo prompted. We find a nice, cozy alley to sleep in and pray no one stabs us, Terrorizer finished dryly. Nagla threw his arms in the air. Man, we're in an anime world and we can't even get a nice hotel? Where's our Ice Sky protagonist treatment? Panda huffed. Screw it. I say we go full wilderness mode. Forest camping. Like old times, if the old times included interdimensional travel and getting PTSD from a Maid cafe. Vanis raised a brow. You do know we have 0 camping gear, right, and 0 camping knowledge? Delirious grinned. Who needs gear when we have video game powers? I can just spawn a sleeping bag. You better not spawn one of those janky Minecraft ones that glitch into the ground, Wildcat snapped. Only one way to find out. Delirious said enthusiastically, already pulling something out of thin air. Terrorizer pinched the bridge of his nose. You know what? Forest it is. It's far from the public, less chance of being spotted, and we don't have to deal with overly enthusiastic maids. You say that like it's a bad thing, Delirious teased. I'll smother you with a Hello Kitty pillow, Terrorizer muttered. So they made their way out of the city, finding a patch of forest not far from a riverbank. The trees were thick enough to block the view of the road, and the distant sounds of traffic faded into the chirping of insects and rustling leaves. They settled into a small clearing and began conjuring random things from video games. Campfires, bedrolls, even a makeshift tent someone claimed was from Valheim. Not bad, honestly, Moo said, sitting cross-legged by the fire. Could be worse. We could be in a sewer, Vanis agreed. Or still at that Maid cafe. Hey, Delirious said, raising his hands. I got nothing against maids. Just maybe not while I'm trying to question my entire existence. Terrorizer sat down with a heavy thud. Let's just hope this isn't illegal. Last thing we need is a forest ranger with a quirk that lets them launch trees at trespassers. Wildcat lay back on a summoned camp mat, arms crossed behind his head. Honestly, not the worst way to crash. Stars are out. We're not being chased. Nobody's dead. Nagla pointed at him. Yet. Everyone groaned in unison. Panda sat up suddenly. Okay, but real question, who's on watch duty? A beat of silence. Then all at once. Not it. Not it. Not Diamanit. Delirious slumped, pointing at himself. This is why I hate group democracy. Enjoy your shift, Master Delirious, Wildcat teased. Shut up, Wildcat. Laughter echoed through the trees as the group finally began to relax somewhat. They still didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but at least for now, they had a place to rest. Even if that place was the middle of a forest in a completely different universe. It was barely dawn. The pale glow of morning filtered through the thick forest canopy, beams of light down like soft spotlights over the rugged, makeshift campsite where the Vanis crew had reluctantly decided to crash for the night. Their camp was really just a haphazard circle of bundled-up jackets, game-themed backpacks, and a poor excuse for a campfire that had fizzled out within an hour of being lit. Some were sprawled out on uneven mossy ground, others were awkwardly half-sitting against tree trunks, limbs tangled or draped over each other in total exhaustion. The only sound was the occasional soft snore and the rustling of leaves. Damn it. Nagla's voice tore through the silence like a chainsaw. He'd rolled over in his sleep and directly kicked Wildcat in the ribs. What the hell, Nagla? Wildcat shot up, clutching his side. Why are your legs everywhere? Are you trying to sleep spinjitsu me? I didn't know you were there. You're big but not that big. Thought it was a rock. Nagla barked back, already sitting up, covered in twigs and dried leaves. You look like a rock. A dumb, screaming Irish rock. Wildcat groaned, rubbing his temples. What time is it? Vanis stirred, still face down in the grass. It's too early for your WWE Tag Team match. Delirious, lying on his back with a hoodie pulled over his face like a blanket, mumbled, "Who's winning?" "Definitely not my kidneys," Wildcat grunted, shifting to his feet. "Jesus, my spine is screaming." "Moo," Terrorizer's voice came out groggy. "Is that you farting or is something growling?" "Definitely not me," Moo said, yawning wide as he sat up. "Unless you're smelling the forest's natural musk. Which might be me actually." Evan sat up and pulled a leaf from his hair. "This is why I said we should have just asked someone about a hotel. But new forest camping is so cool. You were the one who said it sounded like a fun, survival experience." Brian barked, rubbing his eyes. "Now look at us sleeping on literal sticks. You're the one who brought the idea up. How'd you guys sleep?" Delirious said, now crawling out of his hoodie cocoon. "I just closed my eyes and accepted the void." "That's not sleeping. That's depression," Moose snorted. Wildcat slapped a hand to his forehead. "This is the dumbest group of grown-but men I've ever been a part of." "No refunds, buddy," Evan replied, stretching his arms. "You're stuck with us." The group groaned collectively as they tried to fully wake up, each looking more disheveled than the next. Their clothes were wrinkled and dirty, faces smudged with dirt, and someone no one wanted to admit who had somehow slept with a pine cone pressed into their lower back. "Okay," Terrorizer said, brushing leaves off his jacket. "We need to find food. Or coffee. Or both. Before someone dies." "Agreed," Evan said. "But can we also agree that camping SCKS?" "I dunno," Delirious grinned, glancing around at the forest. "I feel kinda refreshed." "You slept like a corpse," Wildcat snapped. "Of course you feel refreshed. You could nap through a tornado." "Hey guys," Moo interrupted, sniffing the air. "Do you smell smoke?" Brian immediately tensed. What kind of smoke? Good smoke or someone set fire to the tree's smoke? "Let's pray it's a campfire and not Nagla spontaneously combusting again," Vanis muttered. Nagla, completely unbothered, stood up and cracked his back loudly. "Maybe we can follow the smell. Might lead us to civilization." "Or a bear," Wildcat added. "Or breakfast," Delirious said, eyes hopeful. The early morning mess continued. Panda groaned loudly as he rolled over, arms flailing. "But does my entire everything hurt? I feel like I got hit by a vending machine." "That's what happens when you sleep like a giant burrito rolled in trauma," 407 muttered, dusting off his sleeves. "Also, you were snoring so loud it probably summoned wildlife." "That wasn't me," Panda shot back. "That was Moo. Sounded like a cow dying in a vacuum cleaner." Moo blinked slowly. "How the hell do you know what that sounds like?" "Don't question my trauma, Brock." Louis sat cross-legged near the smoldering remains of the campfire, eyes half closed, looking at nothing. "I dreamt I was in a Mario Kart track, but every item was just pain." "Good," Marcel said, stretching his arms. "That means you felt something. Progress." "I swear," Panda muttered, "if I see another tree I'm gonna roundhouse kick it into next week." "We're literally in a forest. You can't even roundhouse kick your own pants on in the morning," Wildcat shot back. "Keep talkin', Tyler," Panda said, pointing lazily. "Keep talkin', And I'll dig a hole and bury you in it with those pine needles you called a bed. Please do. Put me out of my misery, Wildcat groaned. Terrorizer, tapping his phone, frowned. Signal's still garbage. This forest is like a dead zone from 2002. Maybe if we rub 2 iPhones together we can start a fire or a signal, Evan mumbled, now tying his shoelaces with half-closed eyes. Guys, real talk, Delirious said, hands on his hips. Why the hell are we even still in this forest? We're in another dimension, hunted by attention and probably confusion, and we slept next to a tree that might have been alive. For 07 added, at least it didn't ask us riddles. Yet. Nagla sighed. Why do I feel like I'm in a really scuffed crossover episode of Survivor and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Because that's exactly what this is, Marcel replied. Minus the bikinis and overpowered grandmas. Louis stood up, brushing dirt off his hoodie. Okay, so what's the plan? Are we finally gonna head back to town or keep LARPing as confused forest hobos? Plan is to not get arrested or eaten, Brian said, standing. Whichever comes first. But then, a branch snapped. Everyone froze. Delirious turned his head. Did one of us just step on something? They all slowly looked around. More snapping. Leaves rustled. A low wind blew through the trees, carrying whispers of something or someone moving nearby. Vanis narrowed his eyes. That wasn't a squirrel. Wildcat stiffened. If it's a bear, I swear to God. It's never just a bear, Moo muttered. Nagla squinted into the trees. What if it's the trees themselves, coming to fight us for disrespecting the forest? Panda hissed. If a tree throws hands, I'm swinging back. Shoo! Brian hissed. Shut up, all of you listen. The forest had gone quiet again, too quiet. The rustling got louder. More deliberate. And then out of the trees, with a beam of flashlight and a sharp whistle came 2 uniformed security guards, flanked by a hovering drone that blinked red with a scanning light. One of them barked. You lot camping out here? Every single one of the guys froze like deer in headlights. Terrorizer muttered under his breath, Ah, bloody hell. The other guard stepped forward cautiously. You all right? You don't look like you're from around here. Vanis slowly stood upright, arms raised slightly like he was about to get mugged by bureaucracy. Morning, officers. Just, casual. Forest recreation? Forest recreation? Wildcat whispered, elbowing him. What the hell does that mean? Better than saying, we're dimensionally displaced Gmod YouTubers, Evan hissed back. One of the guards scanned them up and down again, eyes narrowing. You do know this area's under patrol, right? People aren't supposed to sleep out here. It's not a camp zone. Oh really? Marcel said, sarcastic. Guess we missed the welcome sign. We thought this was, a designated nap forest, Moo added awkwardly. That is not a thing, the guard deadpanned. We're just, tired travelers, Panda said. From, really far. How far? The guard asked. Cue the long pause. They all looked at each other like no one studied for the final exam. Then Nagla, without a second of hesitation, we're homeless. Wildcat facepalmed hard. Bro, why? Would you rather I say we're aliens? Nagla countered. Let's say we were drunk. Delirious whispered quickly. We got wasted, wandered into the woods, passed out. Boom, done. That's worse. 407 barked. You want to get deported? Guys, how about we say we were doing a survival challenge, Brian offered, pinching the bridge of his nose. Like Bear Grylls but with less urine drinking. Louis chimed in. Just tell them we were doing a viral challenge. No one questions dumb online stuff. Do you even have a permit for this kind of challenge? The second guard asked, looking increasingly suspicious. Vanis sighed. Okay, listen. We'll go quietly. You can interview us or whatever. Just please don't arrest us. We bruise easily and we're mentally fragile. We're not arresting you, the first guard said, folding his arms. We're just gonna ask you a few questions downtown. You're not in trouble, yet. Terrorizer muttered, famous last words. Panda groaned. Can we at least get breakfast first? I'm starving. I've been running on sarcasm and tree bark for hours. Dude, if you mention food one more time, I'm throwing you in the nearest bush, Wildcat snapped. Joke's on you, Panda said. I am a bush. You all need serious therapy, the second guard said flatly, motioning for them to follow. The group, sighing in collective reluctance, began trudging through the trees after the guards. This is gonna be the weirdest report they've ever written, Moo whispered. And it's only, 8 a.m.? Louis added. Fantastic start. They'd been sitting in the holding area for about 10 minutes, now just enough time for everyone to get uncomfortable, irritated, and suspicious of everything. So, we're really f-king doing this, huh? Marcel muttered, staring blankly at the wall. Evan let out a sigh, slumped against the backrest of the bench. Yeah, buddy. Full-on arrested by anime cops. Just another Tuesday. Nagla sat cross-legged on the floor, whistling casually. They haven't taken our shoes yet, so that's a win in my book. Wildcat groaned. Why would they take our shoes, Nagla? What the hell are you even talking about? Look, in some places that's a thing. Nagla defended. Maybe they don't want us stomping around like loud Westerners. Before an argument could break out, Brian raised a hand. Okay, shut it, he said firmly, standing in front of them like a school teacher facing a classroom of feral toddlers. Listen up. We need to have a serious conversation before they call us in for questioning. Everyone slowly turned toward him, their expressions a mix of boredom, curiosity, and residual chaos from being woken up by Nagla earlier. Brian took a breath. We don't tell them the truth. What? Why? Evan asked, eyebrow raised. Brian crossed his arms. Think about it. We say, hey, we're from another universe. We got SCKD through a Gmod glitch into an anime world. We're pretty sure we have video game powers now. He stared around the room. Does that sound remotely sane to anyone? Delirious blinked. It is what happened. Yes, and they'll either throw us into a padded cell or dissect us for science if we admit that, Brian shot back. Speak for yourself, Wildcat muttered. I think I'd look great in a padded room. I'll start the I love me jacket fashion line. They'll treat us like villains or aliens, Brian continued, ignoring the snark. Or worse, turn us into some kind of experiment. If we want to live a single day in this place without ending up in Area 51, Anime Edition, we keep it simple. We lie. Lie about what though? Moo asked, leaning forward. What kind of quirks do we say we have? Make up something believable. Something normal for this world. Not, I can summon a dragon with my Xbox controller, okay? But I can though. Nagla said proudly. Not the point, IT. Brian snapped. Evan raised a hand. Okay. So, we lie about our quirks, don't mention the whole dimension hopping thing, and pretend we're just, what? Underground vigilantes. I vote we're part of a secret hero academy, Marcel said. Sounds mysterious. And vaguely plausible. Can I be an emotional support raccoon summoner? Delirious asked. No, the group said collectively. This is serious, Brian said again, pinching the bridge of his nose. We've already drawn attention. There's cameras. Footage. People talking. We just need to ride this out until we figure out a way home or at least how not to die here. A long pause followed. Then Wildcat muttered, so what happens if they've got some guy with a lie detector quirk or something? They all went silent. Eyes turned to Brian. Brian slowly sat down. Then we are absolutely and completely screwed. Great pep talk, Moo grunted. Yeah, 10 out of 10, Evan said. Really feeling hopeful now. Group hug? Delirious asked with a grin. No one's hugging you, man, Marcel said. Yeah, you smell like forest and poor life decisions, Wildcat added. We all do, Delirious shot back. They all started muttering again, devolving into a mess of banter and sarcastic suggestions. But beneath the jokes, there was one thing they could all agree on. They needed to be very careful about what they said next. Because this wasn't their world. And sooner or later, someone would figure that out. The Vanis crew was then politely escorted to a temporary station for questioning. And by politely, it was more like, you guys are coming with us before you do anything else weird. Now, in a series of small rooms, each member sat across from officers with clipboards, cameras recording, and questions prepared. They were being interviewed separately. And it went about as smoothly as you'd expect. Interview 1. Delirious. Name. Totally not fake. Quirk. I can talk to raccoons. They tell me where people hide their snacks. It's a very underrated skill. Profession. Security guard for a Chuck E. Cheese back home. But I quit after the animatronics started talking back. Are you under the influence of anything right now? I wish. Interview 2. Wildcat. Name. Tyler. Tyler the Unbearable. Unbearable? Because I bear the weight of this group's stupidity. Wildcat looked all smug, proud of his insanely corny joke. Right? Quirk. Explosive flatulence. If I eat Taco Bell, I can rocket jump. Interview paused due to the officer choking on laughter and accidentally knocking over a coffee. Interview 3. Nagla. Name. Tida Nagla. It's Irish. Very Irish. Like Guinness levels. Quirk. I can summon potatoes. Boiled, mashed, fried, you name it. Except sweet potatoes. They betray me. Profession. Part-time philosopher. Full-time legend. Sir, that's not a profession. Well, neither is asking dumb questions, but here we are. Interview for Venice. Name. Evan Fong or Vanis. Real. Real enough. Ask the internet. Quirk. I can slow down time. But only when I'm losing an argument. Excuse me? It doesn't help me win. I just get to be wrong longer. Interview 5. Moose Knuckle. Name. Brock. Quirk. I talk to cows. Moo. You're joking. No, I just feel a spiritual connection to them. Profession. Stay-at-home milk whisperer. Next. Interview 6. Basically I'd work. Name. Marcel. Profession. Content creator. Gaming. Finally, a real answer. Quirk. I can copy abilities I've seen in video games, but only if they're cool enough. That's actually suspiciously specific. Right? That's because it's true. Interview 7. Terrorizer. Name. Brian Hanby. Quirk. Enhanced tech intuition. I can analyze and sync with nearly any device or system. Profession. Engineer. Robotics, software, you name it. I troubleshoot and create. Finally, someone who doesn't sound like a walking meme. Brian nodded slowly. Trust me, I'm the adult supervision. Interview 8. Louis Caliber. Name. Louis Caliber. The legend. The myth. The high-pitched menace. Quirk. I can shrink. My voice. Permanently. That's not. Okay, fine. I can shapeshift into anything, as long as it's emotionally scarring to someone in the room. Sir, what? You ever been chased by a Teletubby with teeth? That's me. I'm nightmares with legs. Profession? Professional troll. I specialize in ruining moods and confusing cops. Next. Interview 9. Big Jiggly Panda. Name. Anthony. Or Big Jiggly Panda, depending on how professional you want this to be. Quirk. I can weaponize hunger. The hungrier I get, the stronger I am. It's a delicate balance between starvation and rage. Are you serious? Dead serious. If I don't get fed every few hours, I become a walking natural disaster. You ever seen a man rampage through a buffet line? No survivors. Profession. Food critic. Also a sleep specialist. I review both restaurants and naps. That's not a real job. Neither is fighting sludge monsters in spandex, but here we are. Next. Interview 10. Forzer07. Name. Scotty. Or Forzer07. Spelled with a 0. Very important. Quirk. I can summon unlimited hoodies. Cozy, stylish, and incredibly stealthy. That's Not exactly useful in combat. You've clearly never been smothered by fleece. It's a slow, warm death. But what do you do for work? Professional hide-and-seek champion. Also part-time therapist for a group of delusional grown men who think they're superheroes. Are you referring to your companions? Yes. I'm the glue. The silent observer. The hoodie overlord. Please step aside. After these confusing and chaotic individual interviews, the officers were clearly overwhelmed. Half of them were convinced it was a prank group from a low-budget hero academy no one heard about. The other half were just tired. The group sat in a bright, sparsely decorated room inside a local precinct, not a cell, but definitely not a place meant for comfort either. The interviews were done, the ridiculous answers logged, and now they were just waiting. That was, until a stern-looking officer returned with a clipboard in hand. He cleared his throat. All right, one final question before we decide how to proceed. Do any of you hold a valid pro-hero license? A full 3 seconds of silence followed. Then Wildcat squinted. What license? Hero license, the officer repeated, a little slower. You need one to operate as a pro-hero or to engage villains. Oh, Moo muttered, nodding slowly. Yeah, no, we don't have that. Do we look like we filled out any paperwork? Basically said, arms crossed. Terrorizer leaned forward, concerned. Wait, we need a license just to fight villains? That's a thing. Yes, the officer barked, rubbing his temples. Delirious blinked. What if I told you I had a villain license? Everyone groaned. That's not a thing. Proheroes snapped. Why would you even say that? Delirious shrugged. Felt right. Louis leaned back. Bro, I thought we were just doing, like, community service or something. Illegal community service, the officer mumbled. Panda looked up from his seat, frowning. Does beating up people for the greater good really need a license? Yes, the officer and basically shouted at the same time. Nagla raised his hand. Okay, but what if I identify as a licensed hero? Wildcat threw a plastic cup at him. Shut up. I'm just saying, Nagla started. You're not helping, Evan said, exasperated. The officer shook his head. So none of you knew about the license requirement before engaging the villains? Dude, we're not even from here. Proheroes shot back. Yeah, Terrorizer added. We're not locals. We're, travelers. The officer narrowed his eyes. From where? Canada, Vanis said, not missing a beat. Ohio, Delirious added. Detroit, Panda grunted. Definitely not an alternate universe, Moo said quickly. The officer was quiet. You're not making this easier, Terrorizer muttered to them. Louis raised his hand. Can we just download the license? Or get a trial? Bro, it's not Netflix, 407 groaned. There's no 7-day trial for being a hero. The officer scribbled furiously on his clipboard, clearly stressed out. Until this is cleared, you're not allowed to engage in any quirk-related activity in public. Got it? Wait, we have to just sit back and let villains run around? Wildcat shouted. You did that before anyway, Moo whispered. Shut up, man. Evan sighed. Okay, let's just not cause more problems. We'll figure this out. Yeah, sure, Panda muttered. What could possibly go wrong now? You had to say that, 407 said flatly. You had to say that. As the room simmered down from the last round of arguments, Delirious finally blurted out the million-dollar question. So, are we getting arrested or what? The officer looked up from his clipboard, visibly exhausted. No. Everyone blinked. You're not. Wait, seriously? 407 asked. You're not arresting us? You did fight illegally, the officer admitted, but you also prevented a major robbery and helped civilians get out safely. So, for now, it's being overlooked. Panda let out a loud sigh of relief. Oh, thank God, I was mentally preparing to break out of jail. Break out? Moo laughed. You'd get winded crawling through an air vent. Don't underestimate me. Panda grunted. Okay, yeah, Wildcat said. So we're free. Well, watched, the officer replied. You're under monitoring. And don't go picking fights. No powers in public. Nagla raised a finger. What about powers in private? Don't even finish that sentence, Evan said quickly. Then suddenly a piercing beep 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 erupted from a nearby police console. An officer burst into the room. Sir, we've just received an emergency call. It's from UA High. Everyone sat up a little straighter. What's UA? Delirious asked. A high school. Who guess? No, the officer said quickly, tension growing. It's the high school for hero training. Their field training at the USJ facility is under attack. Villains breached the premises. They're requesting backup immediately. Wait, villains again? 407 said. What's with this anime world and all the constant villainy? Wildcat stood up. So, they need heroes. Yes, the officer nodded. Panda leaned in. And we're not heroes because no license. Terrorizer gave a thoughtful look. But if we helped? The crew all turned toward the officer. Would we get a license? Evan finished. The officer blinked. That's not how this works. But could it? Moo said with a grin. Think about it. Delirious jumped in. You got 7 or 8. Wait, how many of us are there? 10. Terrorizer groaned. There are 10 of us. 10 wild cards, Evan said, stepping forward. No license. No training. Just dumb luck and decades of gamer reflexes. God help us, the officer whispered. But we're effective. Wildcat said. We took out that villain squad yesterday without any casualties. And we're expendable. Nagla smiled wide. No, several crew members said at once. Look, 407 said, turning serious, if you let us help and we do help, that's proof we're not a threat. Or at least proof we're useful threats, Panda said, already cracking his knuckles. The officer stared at them, unsure if they were joking or just chronically insane. Terrorizer crossed his arms. Come on. You said you didn't want us causing problems? Then give us a reason not to. Another officer ran in. We need all available units now. Yue says it's bad. Many and maybe in hundreds of villains there. The original officer hesitated, then groaned. Fine. Yes. Evan grinned. But you'll be accompanied by Proheroes, the officer clarified. And the moment you cause trouble, you're out. Got it? Understood, Terrorizer said quickly. Crystal, basically added. All right, the officer said. I'll notify the teams. You're going to the USJ. Delirious leaned over to Panda. What does USJ even stand for? Universal Studios Japan? Panda shrugged. Hell yeah, Delirious whispered. The crew stood under the pale morning sun, somewhere on the edge of a Tokyo police precinct's backlit. The air was thick not with tension, but with exhaustion, confusion, and the unmistakable aroma of regret. A lone police van sat idle nearby, its doors wide open and an officer lounging by the driver's seat, sipping from a thermos like it was just another Tuesday. Terrorizer leaned against the side of the van with arms crossed, his jaw tight, brow furrowed in deep thought, likely debating whether this whole thing was sheer stupidity or a calculated gamble. Why the hell did we agree to this? Wildcat muttered, pacing with his hands flailing like a frustrated coach on the sidelines of a doomed football game. I thought we weren't trying to get involved in superhero crap. You know, low profile? That thing we agreed on after the goddamn Maid cafe. It's called damage control, dipshit, Brian said, adjusting the gear interface on his wrist. If we help out, they might stop breathing down our necks. Maybe even get us access to, I don't know, actual beds and working toilets. Beds and toilets? Evans said sarcastically, hands on hips. Oh, fancy. Should we ask for a warm bubble bath and a mint on the pillow while we're at it? Delirious leaned into the open van window and started making car noises. Vroom vroom. Cops are giving us their ride now, huh? We're real official. Get ready for Venice Hero Agency, fellas. You guys are missing the point. Nagla exclaimed, dramatically throwing his hands into the air. We're going to you lads. That's like the school. This is gonna be like a crossover episode. I'm already buzzin', I tell ya. Louis rolled his eyes. You're buzzin' off your own hype. What if we die, huh? Anyone think of that? What if it's a trap and we all get arrested or thrown in anime jail or whatever? We're not getting arrested, Marcel said, arms folded across his chest. We're too cool for that. And also, technically we saved people, so we're like discount Avengers. More like bootleg Avengers, Scott chimed in with a grin. I call dibs on being Hawkeye. I don't do crap and still get to be in the movies. Hey, you leave Hawkeye alone, Brock added, still fiddling with some gadget Brian had handed him earlier. He's got a family, man. Can we focus, please? Brian snapped, finally pushing off the van. We've been wandering around, crashing forests, punching villains, getting interviewed like idiots, and now we have a shot at cleaning some of this up. Just think about that for a second. Everyone quieted for a moment. Then Panda, who had been sitting on the curb munching on a bag of chips he borrowed from the station break room, spoke through a mouthful. Do we get lunch if we help? Everyone groaned simultaneously. Why is that your only concern? Wildcat shouted. Because I've accepted our situation, Panda replied nonchalantly. And also, I skipped breakfast. We all skipped breakfast, man, Evan sighed. But some of us are trying to not make a dumb decision on an empty stomach. I still think it's a dumb idea, said Louis. If this goes south, I'm blaming Brian. Go ahead, Brian said with a dry smirk. But if it goes well, I'm still taking credit. Typical, Marcel muttered. As the police officer finally called out from the van, all right, we're heading out in 5, get your weird foreign buttes loaded up. The group just stood there for a moment. Nobody moved. Then Wildcat broke the silence. We should have just gone with the forest plan, man. I'm allergic to trees, said Scott. You're not allergic to anything, Evan snapped back. I might be, Scott countered. You don't know my medical history. Guys, Brock said calmly, let's just go. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? There was a pause. Everyone glanced at one another. Then they all said in unison, don't say that. The inside of the police van rattled with every bump in the road, not from the suspension, but from the sheer volume of noise coming from the back. Panda was sitting shotgun, reclined like he owned the DMN's seat, casually munching on another bag of chips he'd managed to swipe before leaving the station. The police officer driving a tired-looking man in his 40s with dark bags under his eyes was already questioning his life choices. You seriously gonna eat through the whole bag before we even get there? The officer asked, glancing at Panda. Hey, you offered shotgun, Panda said through a mouthful. It comes with chip privileges. Read the rules. There are no rules, the cop muttered under his breath. Meanwhile in the back, chaos. I still don't know why you picked me to sit between Naga and Delirious. Wildcat barked, trying to shove himself further into the corner of the bench seat. One won't shut up about UA, and the other smells like damp laundry and lunacy. I do not smell like laundry. Delirious snapped. I smell like manly mystery, thank you very much. Bro, you smell like you fell asleep in a mop closet, Marcel said from across the row. I like that smell, Delirious shot back. You would. Can I switch with someone? Louis groaned, his face half buried in his hoodie. I'm sitting next to Scott, and he's doing that thing where he breathes dramatically every 10 seconds. That's called living, Louis, Scott deadpanned. Try it sometime. Can you guys shut up? Brian interjected, forehead pressed against the window. I'm trying to scan police frequencies and city data from this thing, and your voices are literally scrambling the results. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cyborg, Evan said, poking Brian with his elbow. Didn't realize you're high-tech Terminator but needed silence to process. Yeah, added Brock. Maybe we should get him one of those meditation tapes. Breathe in, breathe out, calculate GPS coordinates of supervillains. Can we just admit this is a bad idea? Louis complained again. We don't even know what we're walking into. Nagla perked up. We're walking into destiny. The USJ incident, lads. You don't understand the scope of this. There's Nomus, villains, and shut up about the DMN anime spoilers. Wildcat snapped. I don't even know what a Nomu is. Nomu, Nagla corrected with a proud little smile. Whatever. Wildcat spat. Sounds like a Pokemon. He's not wrong, Panda chimed in from the front. It does sound like a Pokemon. Probably a dark type. The officer sighed and reached for the dashboard. Do any of you not have ADHD? Wouldn't be the Vanis crew if we were normal, Evan grinned. Delirious pressed his face against the bars separating the back from the front seat. Hey, Mr. Cop Guy. Can we get donuts on the way? No. Why not? Because you're not cops. Yeah, but we're, like, freelance heroes now, right? You're lucky I don't drive this van into a river. See? Delirious turned to the rest of the crew. That's police brutality right there. Brian rubbed his temples. I should have stayed in the forest. Hey, speaking of that, Scott said, pointing a thumb over his shoulder. Anyone else think it's kinda wild that we just slept under trees last night and now we're going into a superhero school's war zone? Yeah, Brock chuckled. Talk about glow-ups. Just saying, Marcel added, we went from homeless to heroes in like, what, 24 hours? Plot progression, baby. Delirious shouted. Dude, Evan leaned forward, speaking directly to the front. How long is this drive, man? The officer gave a long sigh. Longer than I deserve. The van jerked to a stop in a wide lot just outside a massive dome-shaped facility. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the pavement, but the flashing red and blue lights of responding patrol cars and ambulances gave the place a chaotic, almost surreal glow. Before the engine had even turned off, the side doors clattered open and the officer in the front seat jumped out, muttering under his breath and waving for a few others. Several uniformed officers quickly broke away and jogged toward a group of teachers gathering outside the building. Among them were Midnight, Present Mike, and the small silhouette of Nizu. But inside the van? It was still pure, unfiltered Vanis crew energy. Okay, but I'm just saying, this is literally child endangerment, Marcel argued, arms crossed. They're dragging us to a school while some villain war is happening inside. That's illegal in like 33 countries. We're not inside the school, dumbass, Wildcat shot back. We're outside. Like cowards. Hey, I take offense to that, Evan said. We're not cowards. We're what's the word? Strategically cautious. You mean scared, Scott added dryly. No, he said strategically cautious, Evan emphasized, pointing. Big difference. Meanwhile, Panda yawned loudly in the passenger seat, brushing crumbs off his hoodie. I don't get why you guys are freaking out. If we die, we die. At least I got shotgun. That's not comforting, Panda. Brock groaned. Do you even realize what we're about to walk into? Yup. Panda popped the last chip into his mouth. I'm just choosing to accept it. Chill, bro. I'm gonna be honest, I kinda hope we don't have to do anything, Louis muttered from the far corner of the van. I just want a nap. A nap and maybe some fruit. Bro, you literally just woke up, Brian said. And now you want to go back to sleep? At UA? What even is a UA? Scott squinted out the window. I thought we were going to a government facility. Why does this look like a fancy sci-fi high school? Because it is a high school, Nagla answered like it was common knowledge. The high school. This is where all the future heroes train, man. You mean like sidekick kindergarten? Wildcat quipped. Sidekick kindergarten is where you belong, Nagla shot back. Can we just get out of the DMN van? Brian finally snapped. We look suspicious as hell sitting here arguing like a family in a fast food parking lot. Yeah, Evan said, pushing the sliding door open. Let's stop looking like idiots in a sketchy van and start looking like idiots on foot. The crew filed out one by one, each of them moving with an awkward, half-uncertain energy. Their mismatched clothes, messy hair, and general confusion stood in stark contrast to the flashing lights and frantic coordination of police and emergency workers nearby. As they stepped out into the open, a heavy boom echoed in the distance, a thunderous crack that made the air vibrate. They all froze. What the hell was that? Louis asked. Fireworks. Delirious offered weakly. Yeah, Brock said sarcastically, eyes wide. Fireworks. From inside the war dome. Panda stretched and glanced at the building. That's definitely a boss fight. Feels like we just got dropped in the middle of a final level, Scott added. Don't say that, Wildcat warned. Last time you said that in a game, we fought a demon that turned into a tank. But, real talk, Marcel said, lowering his voice. That sounded serious. Like, serious. Nagla nodded. If it's the USJ incident, then yeah. That was probably the Nomu. Everyone blinked. The what? Scott asked. The Nomu. Nagla repeated, excitedly. Big, jacked, bioengineered villain with 0 brain cells and a punch that breaks sound barriers. You know, casual stuff. Sounds like Delirious, Wildcat muttered. I'm flattered, Delirious said, as if it were a compliment. Brian sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. We are so screwed. The officer from before jogged back toward them, slightly out of breath. All right, change of plans. The situation inside's escalated. Some of the teachers are pushing back, but they could use support from outside. You're gonna be backup. Backup? Brock echoed. We're not even officially heroes. You did offer to help, the cop said. And you don't need a license if it's an emergency call sanctioned by faculty. That feels like legal mumbo-jumbo that's gonna bite us later, Scott said. But, the officer added, glancing around. You are free to say no. No one's forcing you in there. The crew looked at one another. Uncertainty. Hesitation. Then Evan sighed. Oh, we're here, right? Brian nodded. Might as well make it count. Delirious smirked. I'm ready to break some rules. Let's just hope we don't get arrested, Wildcat muttered. Inside, it was like stepping into a war zone. The ceiling had been partially blasted open, sunlight pouring through in scattered beams. The massive training facility once probably used for mock disasters was currently living up to its name. Fires raged along the shipwreck zone, the mountain zone trembled with explosions, and smoke curled up from scattered battlefields. Screams of students, roars of villains, and the sickening sound of destruction echoed through the cavernous dome. And through it all, the Vanis crew stood just inside the threshold, staring. What the actual hell? Marcel muttered. Okay, this is way beyond what I signed up for, Brock said, backing up half a step. This is some Marvel movie-level crap. Panda blinked slowly. I think I just peed a little. You definitely peed a little, Scott added. Wait. Evan slowly stepped forward, squinting at the chaos ahead. Are those teenagers? Are teenagers fighting grown but supervillains right now? I told you this was sidekick kindergarten. Wildcat yelled. This is not kindergarten, this is a death match. Brock shouted, throwing his arms up. From nearby, they saw students in UA uniforms clashing with villains. Ice spikes burst from the ground. Fireballs exploded midair. A kid with tape elbows was slinging people to safety. A pink girl flipped through the air kicking a massive brute in the jaw. It was wild. Okay, Delirious said, stepping beside Evan. I officially have no clue what's going on. Oh my god, Nagla breathed suddenly. He pointed into the distance, eyes locked on something beyond the smoke. They followed his gaze. And there, in the center of the battlefield, surrounded by rubble and chaos, stood a towering man in a tattered suit. Blonde hair messy, cape shredded, blood itching down his arm as he swung a punch that sent a Nomu flying across the building. All might, Nagla said almost reverently. Who? Marcel asked. All might, Nagla repeated, incredulous. The #1 hero. That's him. That dude. Tyler tilted his head. He looks like a gym teacher with scurvy. Man's half dead and still throwing people through walls. Nagla exclaimed. We have to help him. I dunno. Evan hesitated. We were told to help, yeah, but isn't that like his thing? You really think one guy, even him, can take on all that without help? Nagla barked. There was a brief silence. Then Wildcat cracked his knuckles. Fine. Screw it. I'm in. Let's go. Wait, Brian said, stepping forward. You two are just gonna run into the middle of that crap storm? You can stay here and give moral support, Tyler quipped over his shoulder. I'm sure your sarcasm will inspire the children. Oh, I hate you. Could use that. With that, Nagla and Wildcat sprinted off across the battlefield, weaving through falling debris and wreckage. Did we just let them run into danger with zero plan? Scott asked. Yes, Evan answered. And do we have a plan? Marcel added. Nope, Brock said. Delirious clapped his hands. All right, so run in now or argue for another 5 minutes. Can't we do both? Panda asked. They all stared out at the chaos, then back at each other. All right, boys, Evan muttered, drawing in a breath. Let's go get murdered for the greater good. Smoke swirled around them, screams echoed in every direction, and it was clear one thing needed to happen fast. We split up, Evan declared, watching another student tumble out of the landslide zone. What? Brock blurted out. Split up? That's like rule number 1 of dying in movies. We're not in a movie, Brock, Marcel said, already stretching his arms. We're in a nightmare theme park where middle schoolers get PTSD. Exactly. Panda pointed. That's why I'm staying with someone. We're wasting time, Brian interrupted, watching the flames grow higher. We go in pairs. Pick a direction. Help whoever you see. Regroup later. Wow, look at Robo-Dad taking charge, Tyler smirked. Brian ignored him. I'll stay at the entrance. Someone should help with evac. You guys move. As if on cue, another explosion shook the dome. The crew scattered Evan and Marcel toward the mountain zone, Delirious and Panda toward the shipwreck, Brock, Louis, and Scott off to the flooding area, and Tyler and Nagla were already en route to All Might. Brian watched them go before turning his gaze back to the entrance. Smoke and dust blurred his vision, but his cybernetic eye instantly cleared it up, adjusting exposure and tracking movement. In the distance, he saw several officers and medics pulling students to safety. And in the middle of that scene a man. Mid-30s, scarred face, sharp eyes, slim build in a hero suit. Fighting off 2 villains by himself with precision and brutal efficiency. Brian tilted his head. Unregistered combatant. Not matching known hero database, unless. The man grunted as one of the villains lunged at him with an electrified whip. Yo, Brian called out, stepping forward. Need a hand? The man barely glanced at him, ducked the attack, and flipped the villain onto the concrete. Suit yourself. Brian stepped into the fray with casual confidence. The other villain turned to him, clearly expecting some sort of delay or threat. Instead, Brian raised his arm, his sleeve retracted to reveal a compact energy launcher. One quick pulse and boom, the villain went flying into a parked vehicle. The man blinked. Who? Friend, Brian said. Probably. The first villain got back up, coughing and limping. Brian, unimpressed, activated his arm blade and deflected a strike with ease before disarming the man with a spin and a blunt jab that sent him crashing to the floor. Both villains groaned. The unknown man stepped back and stared at him. Brian blinked. His robotic eye whirred, running facial scans. /match found. Prohero, eraser head Shota Aizawa. Quirk, erasure, can nullify others' quirks by looking at them. You're one of the teachers, Brian said, eye glowing faintly blue. Cool eyes. Aizawa narrowed his gaze. Who the hell are you? I get that a lot, Brian muttered, brushing dust off his shoulder. More officers arrived and started to cuff the unconscious villains. You with UA? Aizawa asked. Not exactly. Provisional license? Nope. Do you have any idea what you just did? Aizawa demanded. Yeah, help. You're welcome. The officer nearby coughed. Sir, this guy just disabled 2 villains in under 10 seconds. Aizawa gave Brian a once-over again, eyes squinting. You're not a regular vigilante. What the hell are you? Brian smiled faintly and tapped the side of his head, where a tiny panel blinked blue. Let's just say, I'm really good at video games. Dust and smoke swirled in the dome's entrance as Brian stood his ground, side by side with Eraserhead, though neither had spoken a word yet. The air buzzed with tension, the echo of distant battles bouncing off the high ceilings. A villain lunged out of the smoke, snarling and throwing a punch laced with raw energy. Brian sighed, ducked under it, and slammed a metal-coated elbow into the guy's gut, sending him flying backward like a sack of potatoes. Aizawa blinked mid-fight. What the who are you? He asked, voice tense as his capture weapon wrapped around another enemy's arm, yanking them off their feet. Brian didn't answer immediately. His robotic eye whirred softly, scanning everyone in view. Quirk detected, erasure. User, Aizawa Shoyuda. Hero alias, Eraserhead. Status, Pro Hero. Condition, fatigued. Name's Brian. Backup, he muttered, already kicking off the ground into another villain, flipping them over his shoulder like he was dealing with a lightweight training dummy. Backup, Aizawa repeated, skeptical. From where? From the parking lot. Aizawa stared. What? Brian didn't elaborate. He ducked, uppercut a thug trying to creep behind the pro hero, then casually straightened his jacket. Look, I'm not trying to get in your way. Just figured you could use a hand. Aizawa narrowed his eyes but didn't object. Whoever this guy was, he was clearly strong and capable. But something didn't sit right. His style, his lack of hesitation, the way he didn't seem to be using a quirk but was still mowing down villains like nothing. This is insane, Aizawa muttered, watching Brian sweep kick two attackers into each other. He's not on any agency roster? Brian's eye flicked red for a moment. They're calling for reinforcements on the east side. Big guy with smoke arms and ice powers. Want me to check it out or keep helping you? Aizawa took a deep breath. He had 1,000 questions. But they could wait. For now, help me clear this area. We need to keep the entrance secure. No one else gets in. Got it? As another wave of villains poured in, Brian cracked his knuckles. Let's play. Sloshing footsteps echoed faintly as Evan and Marcel crept through the cold, damp halls of the USJ's flood zone. A thick mist hung in the air, curling around the tilted shipwrecks and rusted debris like a scene ripped straight out of an abandoned naval base. The air smelled like wet metal and mold. Ugh, Marcel groaned, hugging himself. Why do I have to get the water zone? It's always the freaking water zone in games. Time. Evan lifted his boots exaggeratedly through a puddle. Because the game of life hates you. Marcel sniffed. I swear I'm getting trench foot already. We've been here 5 minutes. A loud splash echoed from deeper within. They both stopped. Evan raised a hand. You hear that? Marcel leaned forward, eyes narrowing. That sounded like someone yelling. They moved to the edge of a collapsed railing overlooking the flooded pit. Below, they spotted 3 students on a partially submerged ship, a green-haired kid with a worried expression, a short one with purple spheres sticking out of his scalp, and a girl with long hair and distinct frog-like features. Well, they're definitely not villains, Marcel muttered. They look like freshmen. And also very screwed. Evan squinted. Wait, is that frog girl? From the intro. What intro? The anime intro. Nagla showed me once. Oh, the weird one where all the kids are screaming and jumping? Yeah, that one. Marcel took a half step forward, crouching. They're surrounded. Should we jump in? Evan held out an arm. Hold up. Let's see what they're doing first. Marcel frowned. Bro, there are like 20 dudes in that water. I counted 16. Whatever. Still too many. Those kids are toast. Look, Evan nodded toward them. They're talking. Planning something. Marcel turned, glaring. What if their plan is just panic and die? Evan shrugged. Then we step in. But look at the green-haired one, he's not panicking. He's thinking. Marcel threw his arms up. Dude, you've got like 1% of a teacher's patience and suddenly you're letting school kids handle an ambush? I'm just saying, Evan said, calm as ever, we rush in now, we ruin whatever play they're setting up. Maybe they've got quirks we don't know about. Marcel scoffed. Or maybe their quirks are cry real loud and drown artistically. The pause. Evan deadpanned. You good, man? No, I'm wet, I'm cold, and we're watching minors go up against aquatic murderers. This isn't my idea of a field trip. Evan cracked a grin. I'm pretty sure our entire trip is a felony. Marcel crossed his arms, eyes narrowing on the students again. If they start drowning, I'm cannonballing in there. Obviously, Evan said, we're not monsters. They crouched in silence for a moment, watching the trio quietly coordinate. The green-haired one pointed toward the villains, the frog girl nodded, and the purple-headed kid looked terrified but still ready. Marcel leaned closer to Evan and whispered, "Still think we should let him cook?" Evan smirked. "Yeah. I think we're about to see something cool." From above the wrecked ledge, Evan and Marcel kept watching. Water lapped against the half-sunken ship as the three students locked into position. "All right," Marcel muttered. "Tick-tock. If their plans pray really hard, I'm bailing them out." But then, a sudden shockwave boomed through the air. The green-haired kid Midoriya had launched himself like a missile, using his quirk, One for All, and rocketed off the railing of the ship with a green trail of lightning spiraling behind him. "Yo, what the actual hell?" Marcel shouted, flinching. Midoriya soared overhead and slammed a Detroit smash into the water's surface. Boom! A massive vortex of water exploded outward, sending villains flying in every direction like bowling pins. The whole water zone shook from the sheer force. Tsuyu leapt through the air with Mineta in her arms, landing perfectly on a nearby wreck. "Ding," Evan whispered, blinking. "He's a student?" "Bro, he just used a quirk like he pressed his ultimate button," Marcel said, eyes wide. From their vantage point, they watched Mineta start throwing his sticky headball, with that ridiculous panic scream, all over the place. Villains tried to swim only to find themselves stuck in place. Some floated. Some flailed helplessly. "Okay, never mind," Marcel muttered. "Frog Girl carried him. But credit where it's due, those headball are doing work." "Didn't think I'd say that sentence today," Evan added. The three students regrouped on a floating platform, visibly relieved. Their part of the fight was done. Evan exhaled. "Guess we didn't have to do anything after all." Marcel was already hopping down a safer, drier ledge. "We still following them? They look like they're regrouping." "Hell yeah," Evan said, climbing after him. "I need answers. That punch? That's some All Might level nonsense." Marcel gave him a look. "You think that was All Might's kid?" "Doubt it," Evan replied. They began tailing the students from a distance, stepping quietly behind rusted shipping crates and ship fragments, keeping out of sight as Midoriya clutched his arm in pain, clearly suffering from the recoil. Marcel glanced at Evan. That explosion looked badass, but dude's hurt. Like really hurt. "Probably the price of that kind of power," Evan murmured. Smoke drifted over the rocky outcroppings of the mountain zone. The air crackled faintly with static electricity residual sparks still fizzing in the air from Denki's earlier blast. Echoes of a struggle bounced off the jagged rock walls, but above it all, two voices could be heard stumbling onto the scene from a higher ledge. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Panda asked, panting slightly as he climbed over a boulder, wiping sweat off his forehead. "I feel like we've been hiking for years." "We're not in shape for this, Delirious." Delirious, a few feet ahead, turned around with his usual chaotic grin. "Don't worry, I'm a professional mountaineer. I've scaled much worse terrain in Skyrim." "That's not never mind," Panda huffed. They both crouched down at the edge of a rock ledge overlooking the battlefield below. Below them, chaos. Momo stood protectively in front of Kyoka, who was checking on a short-circuited Kaminari. The villain with the electrical device still held Denki hostage, taunting the girls and slowly advancing. Delirious squinted. These kids are kinda holding their own though." Panda raised an eyebrow. "Didn't one of them just get kidnapped?" "Yeah, okay, maybe they're kinda losing. Should we help?" Delirious leaned back against a boulder, scratching the side of his mask. "I mean, are we supposed to? Like, are we officially heroes now, or are we still weird dimension hoppers with questionable morals?" Panda blinked. "That's oddly insightful. Did you eat something smart today?" "I liked a battery," Delirious replied proudly. "That explains so much." They watched a moment longer. The villain barked some threat they couldn't hear from their vantage point. Kyoka raised her sword, defiant, while Momo pulled another small weapon from her arm. The tension below was palpable. "Okay, but seriously," Panda said, "we can't just sit here. What if one of them dies? That guy has hostage-taker vibes." Delirious tilted his head. True. But also we're, like, not from this world. What if we get caught on camera again? Oh my god, screw the camera. Do we help the kids or not? There was a pause. Delirious leaned forward, peering over the ledge again. That one chick kinda looks like she's from a science anime. What? I dunno, just a vibe. Delirious. What? We're wasting time. Okay. Fine. Let's go play hero. I call dibs on dramatic entrance. God, you're gonna get us both killed, Panda muttered, but he was already readying himself to leap into action. Exactly. It'll be fun. The two of them exchanged a nod, one reluctant, one way too enthusiastic, and then disappeared off the ledge, preparing to drop down into the fight just as things were turning critical below. The villain's grip on Kaminari loosened for a brief second, followed by a loud crash. Heads up! A voice shouted as two large figures dropped from above, kicking up dust and debris. Delirious hit the ground first, dramatically rolling before springing up like it was a circus act. Panda landed right beside him, not as gracefully, stumbling a bit before straightening up and brushing off his hoodie. Dude, I told you I wanted to do the superhero landing this time. Delirious yelled, pointing at Panda. You always do the superhero landing, Panda grumbled. It's terrible for your knees. You're terrible for your knees, Delirious fired back without hesitation. The villain, utterly thrown off, blinked. What is happening right now? Jairu leaned closer to Momo. Who are they? No idea, Momo replied flatly, gripping her weapon tighter. Kaminari, still hanging awkwardly in the villain's grasp, squinted. I think I'm hallucinating. Delirious took a step forward and squinted at the villain holding Kaminari. Hey, stretchy arms. Let the electric noodle go. The villain scowled. Who the hell are you clowns? Reinforcements? Reinforcements. Panda raised a brow. That would imply someone asked us to be here. We're more like unexpected guests, Delirious added, grinning ear to ear. You know, the type that eat your food, break your stuff, and never leave. Panda cracked his knuckles. So, gonna let the kid go, or do we do this the fun way? I'm gonna bury you both, the villain growled. Oh no, Panda, Delirious said dramatically, grabbing his shoulders. He's gonna bury us. Whatever shall we do? Probably punch him in the mouth, Panda muttered. Delirious tilted his head. Right. Classic solution. Without warning, the villain lunged at them, swinging with a whip-like extension of his arm. Delirious ducked under, laughing maniacally. Whoa! I didn't know Slender Man was making a guest appearance. Panda slammed into the villain from the side, shoulder first, knocking him off balance. This guy's got the personality of soggy toast. Yeah, with a side of trying too hard, Delirious quipped, swinging a spinning kick that clocked the villain in the jaw. The three UA students just stood frozen, completely baffled. Are they actually helping? Jaira asked, still unsure. I think so, Momo replied, completely stunned. Kaminari, finally dropped by the disoriented villain, just groaned. What the hell is even going on anymore? As the villain hit the ground unconscious with a satisfying thud, Panda gave him one last nudge with his foot. Well, that was disappointingly easy, he muttered, dusting his hands off. Delirious threw his arms up dramatically. Dude, what the hell, man? Panda blinked. What? You ended that way too fast. I had a bit lined up. I was gonna call him Stretchy McPunchface and everything. Panda scoffed. You can't just name everyone mid-fight. This isn't a cartoon. Says the guy who tackled him like a flying bear. I barely got to do anything. You kicked him in the jaw. That was FRPOI. Panda froze. What? Never mind. Behind them, the three students stood still, the dust finally settling. Momo lowered her weapon, but her eyes stayed wide. Excuse me? She asked cautiously, stepping forward. Both Delirious and Panda turned, one mid-gesture and the other holding back a laugh. Yeah. Panda answered flatly. Who are you guys? Momo asked, clearly still unsure if she should thank them or prepare for round two. Delirious put his hands on his hips like a superhero striking a pose. We're just two morally confused citizens. Panda sighed. Terse. Let's go with that. From very far away. Delirious added cheerily. Very, very far, Panda echoed, nodding like it was the most logical thing in the world. Jair looked at Momo. They don't look like villains, but they don't look like heroes either. Kaminari, still groggy, muttered, they look like they walked out of a chaotic YouTube video. You wouldn't be wrong, Panda said. Delirious suddenly grinned and pointed. See? They're starting to get it. But seriously, Momo tried again, you're not with UA or any official agency? Both Delirious and Panda slowly turned to each other, then back to her. Nope, they said in unison. Should we be worried? Jairu asked under her breath. Absolutely, Momo replied flatly. Panda let out a deep sigh and glanced at the students, then at Delirious. All right, we should probably escort these three back to the entrance, he muttered, already turning toward the path they came from. Delirious tilted his head. But they look fine to me. Let them finish the level themselves. Panda shot him a look. Because Brian is gonna roast us alive if we leave them behind. You really want to listen to him nag all night? Delirious groaned. Not the Brian angry dad routine. Panda folded his arms. Exactly. He'll be like, why didn't you make sure the civilians were safe? Why didn't you escort them back? Why did you steal my snacks again, Delirious? That last one's unrelated, Delirious muttered. Panda ignored him and looked at the UA students. Hey, look, you three clearly got some fight in you, but right now we need to regroup with our and make sure you're safe. Momo narrowed her eyes. Your team? Delirious gave a nervous laugh. Yeah. A bunch of us got split up. Real chaotic mess. You know how it is. No, Momo said flatly. Panda stepped in. We don't mean harm. I know this is sketchy as hell, but believe me, it's safer if you stick with us. There's more villains running around, and we're heading toward actual backup. Jairu crossed her arms. You still haven't explained who you really are. We don't really know how to explain that either, Delirious said honestly, shrugging. But we beat up that stretchy creep, didn't we? Kaminari, still swaying slightly, muttered, they did kinda save us. Momo looked between her teammates, hesitated, then sighed. Fine. But the second you act suspicious, I'm not afraid to use force. Delirious grinned. Can't you why? Dude, they're teens. Panda smacked him on the arm. I meant like, superpowers. Delirious shot back. Panda rolled his eyes. Let's just go. As they began walking, the students trailing a cautious few feet behind, Delirious leaned over to whisper to Panda, you think Brian's gonna give us crap anyway? Oh, absolutely, Panda said without missing a beat. Delirious groaned. I should have stayed and fought that stretchy guy longer. The air sizzled with raw force as another earth-shaking impact rang out through the ruined USA Dome. Concrete cracked, glass shattered, and distant cries echoed between walls of dust and debris. Wildcat and Nagla skidded to a halt near the outskirts of the battlefield, panting. In the distance, All Might was in the middle of a fierce slugfest with a hulking black creature, muscles like boulders, brain exposed, eyes burning. Wildcat pointed dramatically. There it is. That's the BCD, right? That's the one we gotta beat. Nagla yanked him back behind a broken wall. Tyler, you absolute retard. That's the Nomu. You can't just run in there and start throwing punches. Wildcat whipped around. Why not? It's getting its butt kicked, sure, but All Might's running on fumes. This is where we jump in, kick its teeth down its throat, and look awesome doing it. Nagla flailed his arms. Because this is an anime, Tyler. A shonen anime. There's a script. The timeline. Story structure. Tyler blinked. The hell are you on about? This is the part in My Hero Academia chapter 20-something. All Might's supposed to beat the Nomu with the United States of Smash. If we mess that up, we're screwing with the canon. Nagla cried, pulling out his phone like it was a sacred scroll. This is the dramatic climax of the USJ arc. The character arcs. The pacing. Wildcat stared at him for a beat. Nagla. Buddy. I say this with love. Shut the F up. I'm serious. What if the butterfly effect ruins the entire plot? What if mess up the timeline? What if Shigaraki turns into a good guy because we punched the Nomu too early? Nagla grabbed Tyler by the collar of his shirt, eyes wild. I don't want to accidentally ruin the show. Tyler slapped his hands away. Okay, first of all, you've clearly lost your mind. Second, that thing is gonna break All Might's spine if we don't do something. And third, who cares about the plot? I care. Nagla shouted. I like the plot. I like arcs. I like waiting 200 episodes for a fight to end. You are the worst kind of anime fan. They turned back to see All Might coughing up blood, punched through a wall again. Nagla grimaced. Okay, but what if we just stall it? Like, minor interference. Side character level. Tyler cracked his knuckles. No promises. They bolted from cover, charging into the open. The battlefield was chaos air thick with smoke, the stench of ozone, and the sound of concrete groaning under pressure. The Nomu stood tall, towering over the shattered steps of the central plaza. All Might knelt, gasping, blood isting down his chin as his hulking form trembled. Shigaraki's hand twitched. He's nearly done. Nomu, finish him. The Nomu lunged forward. Boom. A wall of smoke and dust exploded near the side of the plaza. What the? Shigaraki stumbled back, shielding his face. Out of the smoke came two figures, one charging full speed with a war cry, the other reluctantly dragging his feet. Behind him. All right, ya oversized rotisserie chicken. Time for a wild Tyler special. Tyler screamed, leaping through the air and drop-kicking the Nomu right in the side of the head. Nomu barely flinched but did take a step back. All Might's eyes widened. Who? Tyler, you idiot. Nagla shouted, huffing as he ran up. That was not part of the plan. I said we go for side character interference. Plans are for nerds. Tyler shouted back, rolling to his feet. This is how we do it where I'm from, head first, no brains. Shigaraki snarled. Who are they? Where did they come from? Nomu, kill them too. The Nomu let out a guttural growl and charged. Nagla's eyes flicked left and right. Okay, think. What would Goku do? What would bad example, what would Itachi Oasis, he dies? Duck. Tyler shouted. Nagla squeaked and dropped to the floor just as Nomu's arms swung wide, missing him by inches and smashing into a nearby support beam. All Might, still panting, stared in disbelief. Who are you people? We're interns. Nagla blurted, scrambling to his feet. Volunteers. Tyler added. Freelance crime punchers. Pro-hero sidekicks. Kinda. Time travelers. Nagla whispered. Wait, and I mean. All Might narrowed his eyes. You're not with UA, but you're helping? We're also have a podcast, Nagla added helpfully. We don't post much, but can we not pitch our non-existent podcast right now? Tyler roared. Nomu let out another screech, charging again. Tyler and Nagla split, diving in different directions. Oi, come here, you freakish science project. Tyler shouted, throwing a glowing plasma grenade from his belt, a leftover from one of his video game powers. It exploded midair, briefly disorienting Nomu. What the hell was that? All Might asked. Dunno. Got it from Halo. Tyler grinned. Love that game. Nagla darted behind Nomu and summoned a gadget from Portal, shooting a temporary hole under the Nomu's foot, causing it to stagger as part of the floor blinked out into another plane. Shigaraki's eye twitched. What is going on? Why does that one have sci-fi weapons? We're OP, baby. Tyler hooped. This is illegal. This is illogical. Shigaraki screamed, scratching at his neck. Nomu, stop playing and kill them already. Nomu lunged again, this time, grabbing Tyler by the arm and slamming him into the ground. Oi shit, I take it back. Tyler groaned. Nagla activated a gravity gun, yanking Tyler out of the Nomu's grip midair and slamming him back towards safety. I'm a goddamn hero. Nagla yelled triumphantly. Irish gamer style. All Might, eyes wide with a mix of horror and amazement, stood up straighter, adrenaline returning. I don't know who you are, but you bought me time. He clenched his fists. Now, let me finish this. The Nomu let out a monstrous shriek as All Might's punch connected with its jaw, sending it crashing into a support pillar with a thunderous crack. But instead of collapsing, the creature roared and got right back up, muscles pulsating, bones knitting back together in seconds. That thing's still going? Tyler shouted, eyes wide. Dude, we punched it into drywall like 4 times. It has shock absorption. All Might shouted back, panting. You'll need to hit it harder than that. Harder than that? I got a bad back. Tyler yelled. Beside them, Nagla stood with his fists raised, twitching. I knew it. I bloody knew it. This is just like episode 11. This is when the Nomu regenerates. I told you. Less narrating, more fighting. Tyler shoved him forward as the Nomu lunged again. This time, it was Todoroki who stepped in, slamming his right foot to the ground. Ice exploded outward, freezing the Nomu's legs mid-charge. All Might. Hit him now, he yelled. Thank you, young Todoroki. All Might launched himself into the air, rearing back a punch, but Nomu howled, breaking the ice and grabbing All Might by the leg mid-air, then slamming him into the ground hard enough to crack the tiles. The crew and students gasped. Okay, it's rampaging. Nagla yelled. Tyler raised his fists again. Let's go, you ugly steroid pigeon. Meanwhile, on the upper floors, more villains started swarming in. These weren't the cannon fodder from before. 2 more Nomu stomped out of a newly opened warp gate, both snarling, bulkier than the first. Oh hell no, Kirishima muttered. More of those things? The more. The eye can destroy more, Bakugo shouted. Shigaraki's laughter echoed. You didn't think we brought just one, did you? Kirishima nearly vomits. Dude. Is that thing wearing someone's spine as a necklace? One of the new Nomus charged directly at the students, but Kirishima hardened up and met it head-on with a brutal shoulder tackle. The impact threw him back, but he dug his feet in and held. Need help here? You got it, shouted Tyler, sprinting and shoulder-checking the Nomu off Kirishima like a linebacker. Whitey! Nagla followed with a flying kick that barely moved the Nomu. Oh, why is he made of bricks? Todoroki joined in, trying to slow it down with ice, while Nagla pulled out his tablet device. His own weird inventory UI flickered on. What are you doing? Tyler shouted while dodging a swing. Trying to summon something OP, give me a sec. The tablet buzzed, glitched, and suddenly dropped a rocket launcher into his arms. Holy mother of lag, Nagla whispered. Use it. Meanwhile, at the gate, Brian and Aizawa were still mowing through villains. Brian's robotic eye scanned the area, predicting movements and pressure points while he swept legs, parried knives, and dropped goons like a seasoned pro. Aizawa barely said a word but gave a half-glance of respect. You fight like someone trained. Brian smirked. I play a lot of shooters. Whatever that means behind you. Brian turned and socked an incoming villain with a metal fist. Got it. Back near All Might, Tyler, Nagla, and the others were facing the second Nomu. All Might rose again, blood dripping from his mouth but smiling. Nice to see I have some wild backup today, he said between breaths. Tyler gave him a thumbs up. We aim to confuse and terrify. Nagla pointed at the Nomu and barked, wait till I shoot this rocket up his A. Duck. Todoroki shouted. The explosion rocked the battlefield as Nagla fired the RPG, slamming directly into the second Nomu's chest, knocking it back 50 feet and into a row of columns. K, Ciro blinked. That was sick. Even All Might raised an eyebrow. What kind of support gear is that? You don't know. What an bazooka looks like. Shigaraki watched all of this, visibly twitching. His hand gripped his neck, nails digging into the flesh. Why are they still standing? They're nobodies. What is going on? The air cracked. All Might's fist collided with the Nomu's skull in a perfect arc of raw, heroic power. The monster's eyes bulged before its entire body was launched into the air, shattering the dome's upper glass in an eruption of debris and light. Everyone froze. The Nomu screamed into the sky like a cannonball, vanishing into the distance as the glass rained down like snow. Smoke and silence hung for a long second. He really punched it out the building, Nagla muttered. Like Team Rocket style. Tyler let out a long, impressed whistle. Damn, that was clean. Man's got hands, Evan added, jogging over, Marcel right behind him. Finally! Tyler shouted. Where the hell were you two? We were scoping things out. Evan argued. You sat there and watched kids fight. Marcel snapped. They were doing fine. Evan waved. Midoriya himself stumbled in, panting and bruised, but eyes wide with disbelief at the scene. He looked up and saw the shattered dome, and then All Might standing tall in the smoke. All Might? He shouted before rushing over to him. Behind him came Mineta and Tsuyu, both equally stunned. On the far side, Aizawa wiped blood from his face, standing over a pile of unconscious villains. Brian, a bit scraped up but otherwise unfazed, was stretching his back. Got your steps in today? Aizawa asked dryly. I think I leveled up, Brian replied. Back near the center, Kurogiri's form flickered nervously, warping beside Shigaraki. Shigaraki, he said. We need to retreat. Shigaraki twitched, his hands shaking as he looked around. The villains were down, Nomu gone, reinforcements arriving, and even his warp gates starting to flicker from overuse. But we had a plan, he hissed. We had more Nomu. They're not enough, Kurogiri cut in, voice firm. The battlefield is lost. If we don't leave now. A sudden pulse of ice burst from Todoroki's direction. Behind him, Bakugo stomped up, growling. If you're gonna run, do it already. Screw this guy, Tyler muttered. Can I punch him before he leaves? No. Nagla yelped. You'll break the timeline. You said that 3 times already. Tyler snapped. As the villain pair began to vanish in a haze of mist, Shigaraki glared at them, all the heroes, the students, and especially at All Might. This isn't over, he rasped. We'll see. You'll all see. And then they were gone. Just like that, the dome was quiet again. A heavy, almost unreal silence fell on the battlefield. Only the hum of distant MMMS of unconscious villains filled the void. So, that was weird, Marcel said. Does this mean we're like, officially heroes now? Tyler asked. Bro, Evan looked around. We just fought regenerating meat monsters, got involved in a kid anime battle, and made literal war crimes with a rocket launcher. You launched a rocket? Marcel blinked. I did. Nagla beamed. And it hit. First try too. Brian rejoined them, hands in pockets, eyes scanning the area. All Might's collapsing. What? Several voices shouted. But no, All Might was just sitting down, breathing heavily, sweat pouring from his face. Midoriya rushed to him, while some pro-heroes finally arrived. The crew looked at one another, exhausted, adrenaline slowly draining out of their systems. Well, Tyler said, guess we better do something? Evan rubbed his face. I swear to God, if this doesn't get us a hero license. Or at least a cool badge, Panda added, approaching from the student group with Delirious behind him. A sticker? Anything? Where the hell did you two come from? Evan asked. Marcel flopped down on a piece of rubble. Can we just not be attacked for like 5 minutes? Smoke still curled from the shattered walls of the USJ facility. The air was thick with the smell of ozone, scorched metal, and the faint but unmistakable whiff of singed villain ego. Nagla was kicking the remains of a sludge villain off his boot, mumbling something about timeline damage when a voice called out across the field. But what the hell did we miss? Heads snapped to the side. Walking up through the settling dust, almost too casually, were Louie, Moo, and Scotty. Not a scratch on them unless you counted Moo's cracked glasses and Scotty's suspiciously ketchup-stained hoodie. You guys alive? Moo asked, eyes flicking between the battered crew. Obviously, Tyler muttered, brushing concrete out of his hair. We fought a zombie bird thing that hits like a truck on steroids. What you 3 been doing, huh? Vacationing? We beat up some villains, Scotty replied with a nonchalant shrug. Yeah, like, nothing major, Louis added, twirling a crowbar that looked suspiciously bloodied. Evan looked them over, raising an eyebrow. Define beat up. Louis squinted. You ever see someone get KO'd with a baguette? There was a beat of silence. What? Brian blinked. I'm not even kidding. Moo summoned a bakery. Like full French cafe and just whack. Knocked a dude out cold. Probably concussed from the gluten alone. Moo just nodded solemnly. Bread is power. Okay, I'm done, Wildcat groaned. I fight a freaky science experiment, and you guys defeat evil with carbs. Man, I told y'all. Nagla piped up, jabbing a finger toward them. This is exactly why the timeline's doomed. You can't be dropping Baguette beatdowns on canon events. Marcel deadpanned, doomed because Moo ran a Gordon Ramsay one-shot? Chill out, Doctor Who. Brian rubbed his temples. Can we all just take a breath? A sudden groan came from a crumbled chunk of wall. One of the remaining villains tried to crawl away, until Scotty walked up and casually dropped a microwave on him. Where did you even get that? Evan asked. I don't know. Moo spawned a kitchen earlier. There was, like, a blender. I think he still has it. I ate the bananas that came with it, Moo confirmed. Wildcat looked skyward, hands raised. Jesus Christ, we are the worst group of heroes ever. From behind the crew, they heard murmurs of Class 1A students starting to regroup. Teachers were arriving. Sirens wailed in the distance. It was finally winding down. Louis cracked his knuckles. So, what now? Tyler smirked. Now, we play dumb, act cool, and pretend we totally had licenses the whole time. Solid plan, Evan nodded. Totally flawless. Scotty held up a baguette. Backup weapon? Keep it, Brian said. You never know. The moment settled into something between relief and exhaustion. Everyone was still catching their breath when Brian suddenly cut through the banter with a more serious tone. Wait, he said, looking between Moo, Scotty, and Louis, his voice low and suspicious. You guys didn't kill anyone, right? All three of them froze. Like deer caught in headlights. Ugh, Moo started. Louis held up a finger. Define kill. Bro, Scotty blinked. What do you take us for? Savages? Brian's eyes narrowed. Just answer the question. We didn't kill anyone, Moo assured quickly, raising his hands. I swear. A lot of bruises, maybe a cracked rib or two, but they're breathing. Yeah, we checked, Scotty added. That one guy who got microwaved? Still groaning. That's a good sign, right? Louis nodded. Microwave guy even said, ow, before passing out again. Brian exhaled, his shoulders easing a little. Good. But like, Louis tilted his head, why does it matter? They were villains, right? Like, actual people hurting, murdery, probably sociopathic villains. Isn't killing bad guys a, hero thing? Brian opened his mouth to respond but was immediately cut off. No, it's not, Nagla butted in, wagging his finger like a smug professor. Because in the show, heroes don't kill villains. It's all about the moral high ground. Justice. Redemption arcs. Shonen anime bullshit. Tyler stared at him. Okay, Weebasaurus Rex, I'll explain again how that makes sense when the Nomu or whatever literally tried to punch All Might into orbit? I didn't write the rules. Nagla threw his hands up. Blame Horikoshi. Marcel groaned. So wait. We're not allowed to kill villains, even if they're trying to murder kids. In this universe? Apparently not, Brian muttered. It's frowned upon. You get a slap on the wrist and a whole moral debate arc if you even think about it. So dumb, Delirious whispered. In Gmod, I would have just RPG'd the whole building. Scotty crossed his arms. So you're telling me I restrained myself for nothing? You know how hard it was not to drop that guy off the building. Louis blinked. Wait, you were gonna drop him? I thought about it. You psychopath. Evan just stood there, rubbing his temples again. We really need a babysitter. Correction, Brian said, looking at all of them. We need licenses. From the background, the buzzing of approaching paramedics and police units began to swell. The Class 1A students were starting to regroup. Teachers were yelling out roll calls. I mean, technically we helped, Mu shrugged. We deserve some kind of recognition. Sure, Brian said, dryly. Right after we explained to the government that our team includes a man who fought evil with a loaf of bread. Scotty held the baguette up proudly again. I stand by that choice. As the Vanis crew regrouped outside the wrecked dome of the USJ facility, tired and still buzzing from adrenaline, they barely had time to breathe before a uniformed officer stomped toward them, clipboard in hand and frustration painted across his face. Yeah, all of you come on. The department needs a few more details. Follow-up interviews. Oh my God, Tyler groaned, throwing his hands in the air. Again? We just did this like an hour ago. I swear they just want us to suffer, Scotty muttered. Evan rubbed his face. Do we get like a punch card? 10 interviews and your next one's free? Delirious stared at the officer blankly. Do we at least get snacks this time? Meanwhile, Panda. Can we not just email our answers at this point? Nope, Brian muttered, straightening up. Of course not. Bureaucracy waits for no man. As the crew groaned in collective misery, soft footsteps approached behind them. Excuse me. They turned to see Yaoyorozu and Jairu, stepping forward, looking a bit scuffed but otherwise okay. Their eyes scanned the crew with a mixture of confusion and curiosity. You too, Jairu said, pointing at Delirious and Panda, back at the facility, thank you. For the help. Momo nodded with a small smile. Yes. We didn't know who you were, but your timing was rather miraculous. Delirious grinned behind his mask. Miraculous is my middle name. Panda elbowed him. You said your middle name was Waffles last week. Exactly. Miraculous Waffles Delirious. Jairu blinked. What? They're always like this, Mu sighed. Panda looked at Momo and Jairu. Anyway, you're welcome. Think. Glad we helped, even if we kinda stumbled in without knowing what was going on. We were just trying to figure out if we were about to die or not, Delirious added cheerfully. Jairu raised a brow. What? Brian clapped his hands to break the awkwardness. All right, time's ticking. Let's just do this DMN interview and get it over with. Just as the group began reluctantly lining up, Brian turned to Scotty, Mu, and Louie. By the way, where the hell were you three? Louie shrugged. Chillin'. Beat up a few guys. Nothing major, Mu added nonchalantly. Scotty smirked. Honestly, we probably handled it better than you guys. Tyler whipped around. Excuse me? I fought a Hulk-looking bird and didn't die. Yeah, and got launched into a wall, Evan snorted. That was part of the strategy. Before more arguing could erupt, the officer groaned. Can we please begin now? Tyler muttered. At this point I'd rather go fight another villain. Don't jinx it, Evan said quickly. And with that, they slowly shuffled toward the exhausted-looking cop, ready to endure yet another round of ridiculous interviews and painful bureaucracy, superhero style. As the remaining Class 1A students regrouped near the facility's outer gates, several Proheroes and UA staff were already on site helping the injured and assessing the damage. The air was heavy with smoke, scorched concrete, and unanswered questions. Aizawa, covered in bandages, sat slouched on a stretcher with Present Mike pacing beside him. Mike, Aizawa muttered, voice gravelly, you ever seen those guys before? Not a clue, man. Present Mike folded his arms. They showed up out of nowhere and started drop-kicking villains like it was a wrestling match. Do we even know who they are? Aizawa asked, turning his head slowly to glance toward the police lineup where the Vanis crew stood still loudly arguing with each other. Present Mike shook his head. The cops brought him in for interviews. Said they helped stop the attack. The guy with the glowing eye apparently disabled an entire unit of villains alone. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. That's not normal. Not even for pros. Near the Class 1A group, Todoroki stood quietly, arms crossed, gaze fixed on the arguing group in the distance. They're not registered heroes, he said plainly. But they're not villains either. Their actions helped us. That doesn't mean they're safe, Bakugo snarled from behind him, still scuffed and bruised. One of them had some kind of energy axe. Who just has that? Someone with a lot of power, Todoroki said coolly. And no regulation. You think they're like vigilantes? Asked Lita, adjusting his cracked glasses. Their complete disregard for order and procedure was unsettling. They were loud, Sue chimed in, blinking slowly. And weird. Yeah, but they kicked butt, Kaminari added, still woozy but chipper. Did you see the panda guy? He belly flopped onto a villain and knocked him out. Bakugo growled. Teach, lucky shot. Just because they help doesn't mean we trust them. You're just mad they didn't let you blow anything up, said Kirishima, nudging him. Shut up, weird hair. Bakugo barked, turning away. Meanwhile, across the lot, Snipe, Cementos, and 13 were gathered near a damaged truck, speaking quietly with Detective Tsukachi. They weren't on any list, Snipe muttered, adjusting his cowboy hat. No hero licenses. No quirk records. They just appeared. They helped, though, said 13, still partially covered in suit damage. From what I saw, they prevented several student casualties. That's what worries me, Tsukachi replied. You don't just walk into a battlefield like that without training. They fought coordinated. Efficient. Cementos folded his arms. If they're not from here, where are they from? I plan to find out, Tsukachi said grimly, staring at the lineup of loud strangers, some of whom were now arm wrestling on the hood of a patrol car. Back with Class 1A, the murmurs continued. I think they're kind of cool, Mineta said, trying to keep up. Like secret anti-heroes. They argued a lot, Momo added, frowning. But they didn't hesitate when it mattered. It's almost like they're used to chaos, Midoriya muttered to himself, scribbling hastily into his notebook. Unusual coordination, improvisational fighting style, unique tech. Uraraka leaned over. You okay, Deku? Yeah, he replied, pushing up his notebook. Just trying to figure out where they came from. None of this makes sense. Welcome to the club, Jiraiya muttered. In the quietest corner of UA's emergency response office, the atmosphere was anything but calm. All Might, no longer in his muscle form, sat heavily in a reinforced chair, his body gaunt, cloaked in a dark overcoat. His skin looked pale more than usual, but his eyes were sharp and observant. Across the table sat Principal Nizu, perky as always, his little teacup steaming while his tail swayed rhythmically. Aizawa stood in the corner, arms crossed, a fresh bandage wrapped tightly around his forehead. His tired eyes scanned the room, half listening, half processing. Beside him sat Midnight, leaned back in a chair, legs crossed, eyebrow arched in quiet interest. Snipe, Cementos, Vlad King, and 13 stood nearby, waiting for Nizu to finish reading a hastily compiled dossier that had just come in from the police. All Might broke the silence with a quiet rasp. They weren't part of any official registry. Nope, Aizawa said bluntly. No school. No hero license. No records. Not even quirk logs. It's like they came from nowhere. They did help, 13 added gently, one hand to their helmet. From multiple student accounts and our own observations, they protected, restrained, and never used lethal force. Snipe grunted. One of them had a freaking laser eye. Another fought barehanded while shouting nonsense about timelines and anime arcs. That last one sounds like a delusional support student, Midnight smirked. They're not delusional, Nizu chimed in at last, ears twitching. At least not dangerously so. I watched the surveillance footage. He sipped his tea with a small hum. They're clearly skilled fighters. Improvised, but it works. All Might looked down. That man, the one with the metal eye. He fought alongside Aizawa against a group of villains. Coordinated. Calculated. Almost too efficient. And yet not trained, Aizawa added, narrowing his eyes. It wasn't polished like a pro's. Experienced through chaos. You're saying they're used to street fights? Asked Cementos. I'm saying they've probably never set foot in a hero academy in their lives. Nizu clapped his paws together. Which makes it all the more fascinating. Their quirks are inconsistent. Some don't even behave like quirks at all. You think they're mutants? Snipe asked, tilting his hat. No, said Nizu with a gleam in his eye. I think we don't know what they are. Present Mike was still chuckling to himself. Yo, did any of you see the one with the red hoodie yelling at the panda guy? He straight up tackled a villain yelling, "This is for Scribble.io, you piece of..." I heard, Midnight chuckled. Then the panda replied, "You stole my kill," and suplexed another one. To us. Oddly poetic. They clearly knew each other well, said 13. There was chemistry, banter, and chaos, Aizawa muttered. Niza's voice cut through again. The real question is, what do we do with them? They're not licensed heroes, said Cementos. They acted without supervision, Aizawa added. But they saved lives, Midnight countered, and kept casualties to a minimum. They also risked a delicate situation, Snipe argued. If they'd gotten in the way of Midoriya or Todoroki. We still don't know what some of them can do, Present Mike added. One of was making objects appear out of nowhere. Is that even a quirk? I thought that too, Aizawa muttered. It's like they broke the laws of matter. Nizu tapped his tiny fingers together and smiled. Then perhaps they deserve a closer look. All Might glanced at him. You're suggesting bringing them in? Not as students. Not yet, Nizu said. But they've proven capable. And I'd rather have chaos within my walls than loose in the city. A long silence filled the room. Then, slowly, Aizawa sighed. You're going to give them an offer, aren't you? Nizu grinned. Of course. I'm nothing if not curious. The Vanis crew sat slumped along a row of uncomfortable chairs outside a bland-looking interview room somewhere in the UA police outpost. Their voices bounced off the sterile walls as their bickering and sarcasm slowly ramped up, none of them eager for another round of interrogation after everything they'd just been through. How many times are we gonna get interviewed? I swear, this is like the 5th time today, Wildcat muttered, rubbing his temples. Second, actually, Moo chimed in. Brian stood in the middle, arms crossed. Can we not self-incriminate before the next cop walks in? Just then, the door across the hall opened. A calm, stern-looking man stepped out, wearing a gray trench coat. He adjusted his tie with one hand and carried a file in the other. Detective Tsukachi will see you now, the officer beside him announced. Wait, detective? Vanis raised an eyebrow. Hold up, we're getting grilled by a detective now? Probably just wants to ask what kind of drags we're on, Scotty muttered. I'd ask myself, Louis smirked, but I know the answer. It's called chaotic energy. The crew shuffled in like a line of schoolboys being sent to the principal's office, whispering their complaints under their breath. I swear, if this guy asks me what my quirk is again, I'm gonna say, explosive diarrhea, Nagla said. That's not even a lie at this point, with how much crap you talk, Panda added, munching chips he'd smuggled into the interview room. Want some? You're the one saying I have diarrhea but you're still eating? Nagla blinked. Didn't you just down, like, 3 parfaits? Stress eating, Panda replied flatly. They filed in and stood awkwardly before the detective, who studied them silently for a moment. A moment too long. Is this gonna take long? Wildcat asked. We didn't, do anything wrong. We actually helped people, Evan added. I mean, I only knocked out, 2 dudes. Maybe 3. Tsukachi calmly opened his file and glanced through the notes. This isn't about placing blame. It's about understanding who you are. And what you're doing here. Moo blinked. I'd like to plead the 5th. That's not how it works here, genius, Scotty deadpanned. Wait, does this dude even know we're not from? Louis started, but Brian cut him off with a quick elbow. From your standard legal jurisdiction, Brian smoothly recovered. Anyway, can we get this over with? I just want to point out that we've saved lives, Marcel said. We're like heroes, you know? Unofficial, unlicensed, probably illegal heroes, Tyler muttered. Still counts. Delirious raised a finger. Tsukachi's expression didn't change, but he clearly noted something on his paper. The silence lingered before Moo leaned in and whispered to Vanis. Do you think they can tell we don't belong here? They think our quirks are just weird, Evan whispered back. I think. The detective closed the file with a soft thud. I'm not here to judge you, he said evenly. But I do need answers. All of them. Brian sighed. Let's just get this over with, guys. Tsukachi stared at the group across the desk. He'd interviewed war criminals with fewer inconsistencies. Let's begin, he said, pen ready. I want your name, background, occupation, and any relevant quirks. Just be honest. Always am, Wildcat smirked, leaning back in his chair. The detective turned to the first on his left. Name. Marcel Cunningham, he replied, adjusting his snapback. I go by basically I do work. Come again. Basically. Work, he enunciated slowly. Tsukachi blinked. That's your hero name? No, that's my gamertag. I'm a content creator. I mostly yell at pixels for money. Occupation, content creator. Got it. The detective scribbled it down. Tsukachi hesitated, his quirk not detecting a lie. And your quirk? I can summon a golf club out of nowhere. Very effective in bar fights and speedruns. Once again, no lie. Tsukachi glanced up with growing concern. Next. Moo, the next man said. Brock, technically. I'm a dad, a chemist, and a master of stealth. The stealth chemist? The pen in Tsukachi's hand paused. What's your quirk? Vibrate. Excuse me? Like at a molecular level. For example, I vibrate fast enough to avoid paying taxes. How does that Waroof? Nagla asked but gets punched in the gut by Wildcat. His quirk still didn't register any lies. Tsukachi's eye twitched slightly. You? He turned to the next one. Name's Scotty, said the man with a lazy grin. Also known as Forzer07. Profession. Ex-barista. Made the best diamond caramel macchiato west of the Rockies. Then I screamed into a mic for a decade and here we are. Quirk. Unyielding back strength. Like I can suplex a moose. Tsukachi frowned. Have you? No, but the moose knew I could. He backed off. Again, no lie detected. The detective was growing pale. He turned to the next. You with the chip crumbs. Panda, the large man said, liking barbecue seasoning off his fingers. Real name's Anthony. Occupation, snack reviewer. Quirk, enhanced appetite and crunch acoustics. Crunch acoustics? Yeah. I can weaponize the crunch of a chip into a sonic boom if timed correctly. Frequencies tied to Dorito density. Tsukachi put the pen down. That sounds made up. Want me to show you? Panda says before chewing on another piece of chip. Next was the man with the creepy laughter. Name's Delirious. Just Delirious. You have no full name? I misplaced it. Fine. Where are you from? A horror game. I what? I was born in a haunted hallway. Raised by glitching shadows. Every Halloween I return home to sit by the campfire and summon lost save files. Occupation? I scream. Loudly. Quirk. I can become intangible if I scream high enough. I once phased through a Starbucks. Tsukachi scribbled something that looked like a question mark and a frown face. He turned to the next. A man with a face of a monkey. Name. Louis Caliber. Where are you from? Hell. Tsukachi sighed. No, like a very hot part of San Diego. Same thing. Occupation? I manipulate social chaos. I once convinced an entire lobby I was the ghost of Christmas past. Quirk. I can sneak into any conversation without anyone noticing. Tsukachi blinked. You're literally talking right now. Exactly. Moving on, he turned to the next. Brian. Last name. Terrorizer. That's not. It is now. Tsukachi pinched the bridge of his nose. Occupation? Professional strategist. Voice of reason. I'm also the only one here with a functioning brain cell. Quirk. My eye. Brian tapped his cybernetic optic. Augmented AI scanner. It can break down tactics, analyze movements, detect BS, and even Identify if someone hasn't washed their hands after using the bathroom. That's oddly specific. Don't ask what I saw at the USJ bathrooms. Tsukachi sighed again. Then turned to the large man in the hoodie. Wildcat. Real name? Tyler. Occupation? Chaos incarnate. Quirk. Punching things until they work. That's not a quirk. It is when you believe in yourself. Then turned to the one besides Wildcat. Your name? Nagla. Real name? David. From Ireland. Tsukachi nodded. And your occupation? I scream at video games for a living. And your quirk? I know the plotline. All of it. Tsukachi blinked. Come again. I've seen the anime. What anime? Never mind. No lie. The detective pushed back from his desk slowly, a haunted look in his eyes. His quirk, his infallible lie detection quirk, hadn't pinged once. Which meant, somehow, everything they just said was the truth. He slowly closed the file and exhaled. After what felt like a fever dream, Tsukachi leaned forward, brows furrowed, pen barely hanging on in his fingers. He turned to the last man, a calm presence compared to the rest, hoodie up, arms folded. And you're the one they keep calling Vanis, correct? Evan gave a small nod. Yeah, that's me. Real name? Evan Fong. Occupation? I guess I'm the one holding the circus together. Delirious piped in from the side. You're more like the ringmaster who accidentally set the tent on fire and just went with it. That's still holding it together, Evan replied, shrugging. Tsukachi pressed on. Background? Canada. The pause. That's it? I mean, what else is there? Tsukachi jotted it down. Quirk. I attract chaos. The detective tilted his head. Pardon? I don't cause the chaos. I just draw it in. Wherever I go, stupid things follow. It's like a gravity well for nonsense. No, really, Wildcat cut in. You drop him in a room of Nobel Prize winners and next thing you know someone's doing backflips with a toaster strapped to their face. Is it an active quirk? Tsukachi asked. Sometimes it triggers when I try to be productive, Evan said, deadpan. That happens. Tsukachi blinked. Evan nodded slowly. Yes. Still no lies. The detective stared at the man across the desk like he was seeing a black hole in human form. Anything else I should know? Evan leaned back, looking contemplative and shook his head. Tsukachi stood up, walked to the window and stared out at the city. Before leaving the room. These are grown men, he muttered. Evan turned to Brian and whispered, So are we getting arrested or what? Brian shrugged. If we are, then